This is day 2 of the Tupac murder trial. Let's get it. Shout out to Pam the Law Intellect for this.
Um, I have a key thing on underneath the gym. It,
You know, better let me go law and crime. Hold on, y'all.
yeah, I
Go to law and crime.
see it.
See, I didn't even know law and crime was streaming it. My fault.
That was the day you were in over our house. Sorry, the day you were in when you remember y'all together. Oh, you talking on call? Okay, that's right. Yeah, now your point with Gina Dan is
This here sounds like a cell phone call.
if Lady Cooper goes there looking for her.
Yeah, this here's a phone call. What it
If
sounds like.
someone wants to talk to her, just call me. Okay. I'll make her available. But if someone goes there without, having class, she doesn't want to talk to anyone. Okay. Okay, we are. Continue to work on this. Yeah, I'm always going to talk to her, man. I didn't see nothing. All I did was her. Okay. Here. So, first, we're working with it. Okay, this is This is the museum right here. This is the parking structure. This is Fairfax going north. That's the street. You said you were going south on Fairfax, then you pulled into the parking lot when you first got there? Yeah, yeah. Then he's notified me comes. Okay, you ready to turn in here? Yeah. You said, was it valet park? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you got out here, then you went out to the park. There's a lot of people here. Right. Double pass. Went on in. Okay. Now, when you came out the same way? Same way. Okay, down this door. Down, there was the stairs with the rail. Right. We railed down right here. Okay. When you came out, was Big E down here already? Yeah, Big E was in front. He was getting in their car. Okay, there was a car here in front? Yes. Okay. Both of the suburbs. Right, okay, both suburbs. And you know which one Big E got into? He got in trouble. And the boy got into that. Then the man in Freeman was behind him too. Who was? What? The man in Freeman, the little guy, Daniel? His little crew, yeah, they went in. Okay, yeah. And car, right? Yeah. I know some of them dudes there out on that deal who they left out. And he shot standing over here by the cars here. And when the other man they come, everybody ran here. I didn't even hear no shots. I just seen the crowd run. I was like, eh. Okay, have you received your car yet? No. Okay, so you were still going on your car, yes. Did you see them leave the area? Piggy and his entourage? You see them go out? Not really. I just seen a lot of cars just leave. Okay. So you saw them there and you just continued over? Over there, no, my car, yeah. Okay. And then, approximately how long do you think it was when you saw them take off, that you saw these people come from? Cattle rustling back in there. Between the 5 and 10 minutes. It was quick. And then, that's when he was running around here. Okay. Were you in the car or are you still waiting for him? Still waiting. Okay. How long did it take them to get your car? I think it's not either side of the crowd. Coming to you to get arrested. They pulled over Keyshawn's first. Then they pulled over Juan. Okay. We came and did it. Okay, so you're inside here, and when you leave, you go out this way or? Go out this way. I don't have that over there, just where you're standing, where you go out. Okay. You're making sure they go right, though. Okay. Because that is an illegal turn if you turn it up. Okay. Okay. You said this individual was a police officer? Yeah, he was tall, about 6'4", blonde hair, real tall, yeah. And he just waved the cars out. He waved about 50 cars up out of here. Did you see any policemen there in the parking lot? Say, as you were leaving the museum, had the out. Try to set the time. All I'm seeing was, that's where I am right here, the tall top. It was more, things pulling up. It was coming real wet, coming in. So a whole lot of chops was coming.
Okay, people were rushing. Okay, 10 minutes between the time you exited
More self snitching.
and the time that the people were running into the parking structure. Then how long from that time did it take you to finally get into your car and start pulling out?
I'll say about 6 to 7 minutes,
6 to 10 minutes?
about 6 to 10 minutes, yeah.
Okay. And then how long did it take for you to exit the structure? Is that,
It was like longer, from,
okay. So you're finally in your car.
yeah, then we leave.
I mean, did you have to wait for a long period of time? Does it
No, not really.
He was pushing through pretty fast.
Wait a little too here.
So after the crowd started moving in, the policemen were there within what, 6
About 6 minutes, yeah. It was right in. He got show up, all that worse. I had been at one of them before, over here in Inglewood, and they made everybody spend the night at that hotel, and everybody that was there.
What hotel?
Just at the, by the farm.
About that shooting you're talking about?
Yeah, with the shooting in. That was kind of strange for him to be wearing people out, though. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. I appreciate your time. Again, you need to show something because I'm telling you, when I first was that you were interested in talking to him, my advice, I said it was, don't tell me before I don't know. I didn't do it. But he insisted that he wanted to make his own contract. So he's doing this on his own. No, I understand he wants to. That's why we have no problem with he took it out, so yeah, he can say, I will check it out here, just say, so what you're talking about. Yes, Sean, talk to Sean, what you're talking about.
He says the FBI is all over me, man. I don't want you guys said you want to stay away from me.
Sean. Oh, shit. Really?
Yeah.
You can get anything you want on the internet. So why are we still taking gen eds like this?
That's the person that slid the invitations. Sent me there.
Oh, okay, you got the invitation from Little City?
Yeah, him and a manager.
Manager?
Him and a manager.
So he,
A lot of braids. You see him?
oh, yeah, and with a sign, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And Combs said FBI is all over me?
Yes.
That was, so with Little C was just high and
Yeah. He gave me the invitation. And
was that before you went in?
before I went in, then I went up there. They was drinking. Gave me a bottle. I started
Did
drinking.
you talk to Little C inside? Did you talk to Little C
Yeah, I
inside?
know.
What did you guys talk about? I mean, you met before, right?
He just said, how you doing? Yeah, what you been
How long did you know John and Little C before this event?
Maybe about a year.
Where'd you
Couple of
meet him?
years. He gave an after party at Soul Right the War. That was
96.
They were trying to get killed at the Elroy Whittier was at. They got beat up.
That's where I was. Oh, yeah, that was 94?
That was the year I went.
Okay, so that's 3 years ago. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna make a phone call. Oh, yeah. Okay.
All right, who's your next witness?
Oscar.
There we go.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may be seated.
Oh, Lord.
May I please have you state and spell your first and last name for the record?
First name is Thomas, Thomas. Last name is Kern, Kern.
Thank you, sir. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Druckmore, you may proceed.
Sir, how are you currently?
I work for Customs and Border Protection at the Chicago Laboratory as a latent fingerprint examiner.
We're going to take you back 30 years ago. 30 years ago, what were you doing for a living?
I had just started here as a crime scene analyst. I was in my first year.
What does a crime scene analyst in Las Vegas Police Department do?
Basically, it's a response to like crime scenes to recover evidence that was potentially left behind during the incident. Things like burglars would go look for fingerprint evidence, maybe sometimes broken glass, those sort of things, and we would collect that from the scene and bring it back to the lab for potential use later.
Did you have a field training officer on September 7th or September 13th, I guess it is, of 1996?
I did.
And who was that?
David Lemaster, that's Lemaster.
Do crime scene analysts respond to the coroner's office for autopsies to document the body and collect any evidence that the doctor pulls out during the course of an autopsy?
Yes.
And were you present at the autopsy with David Lemaster for the autopsy of Tupac Shakur?
I was.
May I approach this?
You may.
I'll start with the proposed exhibits 44 to 56. I just want you to flip through those.
was all depictions of Mr. Shakur, well, his body bag, as well as Mr. Shakur during the course of the autopsy, documenting both tattoos and injuries to Mr. Shakur.
Yes, sir.
And then 55 and 56, it is two sides, I'll say, of what looks like a bullet and a fragment that was removed from his body at the time of autopsy. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Proposed Exhibit number 128. I'm looking at that. Does that appear to be an impound done by Dave Lemaster from the autopsy of Mr. Shakur in September of 1996?
It is.
And flip it over here. Why don't you explain to ladies and gentlemen of the jury how evidence is collected?
So this is a typical evidence collection bag, and on the front there's information that you would complete and fill out that would be relevant to the investigation you're working on. So I know that this is David's paperwork. We are assigned a personnel number when we start the job, and David's personnel number was 4243. That's his first initial, last initial, and that's about here in the center of this information. When we collect the evidence, we're supposed to put a seal on the reverse, and the seal has to remain intact throughout the investigation. So that also has David's initial and personnel number and the date that was collected.
So it appears that nobody's opened this since David impounded it 30 years ago.
That's correct.
Judge, I offer 44 through 56 and 120.
Any objection? They will be admitted.
Thank you. I pass the witness.
Okay. Cross-examination, Mr. Sampson.
Can I have no cross?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you so much. Have a good day. You are excused, Mr. Quinn. State, who's your next witness?
Dr. Lisa Gavin.
Okay.
Lisa Gavin.
Solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. May I please have you state and spell your first and last name for the record?
Good morning. I'm Dr. Lisa Gavin, Lisagavin.
Thank you, Dr. Gavin. Mr. DiGiacomo, you may proceed.
Okay.
Doctor, how are you employed?
I'm a forensic pathologist, medical examiner here in Clark County.
What does that mean you do for a living?
We determine the cause of death and the manner of death and sudden unexpected deaths.
And in order to hold the position that you do with the coroner's office, do you have certain education, training, and background?
Yes.
And explain that to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
I went to medical school at the University of Connecticut School of Medicine. I did a pathology residency at Hartford Hospital in Connecticut. I did a surgical pathology fellowship at Hartford Hospital in Connecticut. I did a forensic pathology fellowship in the Office of the Medical Investigator in New Mexico, and then I came here to Clark County. I have a medical license to practice here in the state of Nevada, and I'm board certified in anatomic pathology and forensic pathology.
How long overall have you been a forensic pathologist?
This September, it'll be about 17 years practicing here.
So I'm going to guess that 30 years ago you were not at the autopsy of Tupac Shakur.
No, I was in medical school.
Have you in the past had to come in and testify to your opinions as to cause and manner of death in cases where you weren't the actual examiner at the table?
Yes.
Explain why that would happen.
We have people that have retired. We have doctors that have died. We have doctors that have gone to other locations in the country.
So when you are asked to review, what is it that you get to review in order to form your opinions and conclusions?
Most often it would be the investigation report from our office. It would be the autopsy report from the forensic pathologist that did the case. It could be photographs associated with the case. Could be medical records associated with the case. Could be any consultations or the like associated with the case.
In this particular case, do you know who the examiner was?
Yes,
Who was it?
it was Dr. Jordan.
Dr. Jordan is no longer with us, correct?
Correct, Dr. Jordan had passed away.
In addition to what the medical examiner's office had, did you also get a copy of the photographs taken by crime scene analysts during the course of the autopsy?
Yes,
And did you utilize those as well to render your opinions?
yes.
I'm going to start with what's been previously admitted as State's Exhibit number 44. Now, as long as you don't click that mouse, there should be a nice little arrow that comes up and you can point to it. What are we looking at in State's Exhibit 44?
In the background is a green body bag, and the way that we sealed the body bag to preserve the body as evidence is we put this little blue tag through the eyelets of the zippers as they come together to demonstrate that the body was received, placed into that sealed body bag, and then received in the office with that seal intact at that time. Similarly, we also attached onto that area what will become the toe tag, the identifying marker for that particular body, that particular individual.
I zoom in on that. We're able to see that the name was Lassane Crooks, aka Tupac Shakur, date of death 9/13/96 at approximately 1600 or 4 p.m.
That's correct.
What are we looking at, Doctor?
This is just opening up of the body bag, and then one of the first photos that was taken at the time that the body bag was open, demonstrating the decedent and the condition that he was received in the body bag.
And from reviewing the medical records that were part of the coroner's office file, did it appear that Mr. Shakur had survived his wounds for some period of time?
Yes.
And a lot of what we see on these photographs are evidence of medical intervention.
That's correct.
046. This is a facial shot. I know there's a ruler in the way, but this is a facial shot of Mr. Shakur.
That's correct.
And then we're not going to display all of his tattoos, but there were photographs taken. This is 47 to identify his various tattoos.
Correct.
So we can see on his right stomach there that says thug. And then if we go to 48, on the other side, it says life.
Ooh, damn.
Correct.
Correct.
So now I want to get to his injuries. And I'm going to start with, I'll start with 49. What are we looking at here?
This is the right side of the body up by the chest area. You can see the right axilla or armpit in that region. And then you can see some of the sutures of what they call a thoracotomy incision, where they've cut into the side of the chest. And then just below that, this is an entrance gunshot wound.
And then just below that thoracotomy chest, there appears to be a stitched up area. What is that?
That's a sutured chest tube site.
So he had a tube there to help drain some of what was going on in his body.
Correct. And in the previous one that had all the medical intervention, you could see from the left side there was a similar chest tube on that left side.
From your review, were you able to determine sort of the path of this particular bullet?
Yes.
And what was that?
It entered here in the right lateral aspect of the chest, just below the axilla, the armpit, and then went across the right chest space, went across the right lung, and then ended up coming to rest in what we call the sternal notch. The sternal notch is a location just between where your collarbones kind of meet up towards the center of your chest. So just beneath that, the projectile was recovered.
The nature of that type of wound, what did it physically do to him? His ability to breathe and those types of things.
The injury to the lung would have collapsed the lung and also caused the lung to bleed. And so it was documented in the medical records that he had about 2 liters of blood in his chest cavity when they put in the chest tube to try to save him. And similarly, they ended up removing that lung to try to save him and kind of clamp off the bleeding. And then it already had.
Okay, I got to pause this for a second. So basically, what you're saying is, due to him being shot in his lung, he was having internal bleeding going into his lung. So basically, he was basically choking on his own blood, so to speak, due to the gunshot wounds. Let's continue.
Multiple episodes of not becoming responsive, so he wasn't able to breathe. He was bleeding out in that area from that injury.
Additionally, I guess I should ask this when I was back on some of the prior pictures. We're going to see a lot of pictures, or we have seen some pictures of Mr. Shakur while he's alive. We're going to see some video of him alive. He certainly looks a lot skinnier in those pictures than he does in these pictures. Is there a reason why he's so bloated in these photographs?
After they've been on the life support system, you end up not being able to circulate the fluid in the body that they're trying to give you, and so it kind of seeps into the tissues, and it makes your tissues look kind of bloated and literally bloated.
I'm going to move on to his next wound, State's Exhibit number 51. What are we looking at here?
This is the right lateral aspect of his body, so his right flank and his lateral aspect of his right thigh. And then his backside of his right hand is also in this picture.
The ruler, though, is identifying what?
The ruler is around the right lateral aspect of his thigh, so the right thigh on the lateral side.
And what is that?
And that's an entrance gunshot wound.
And can you tell me the path that bullet took?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
That bullet entered in the lateral aspect of the right thigh and then went upwards into the abdomen and damaged his intestines. They ended up operating there and removed a portion of his intestines, and then during that surgery they recovered another projectile.
State's Exhibit number 52, and you can see it in 51, but now the ruler is on. Oops, that again. Now the ruler is on that lower mark. Describe that for us.
This is like the lateral aspect of his body, or his right flank. And this wound does not penetrate into the body, but it kind of causes this deeper abrasion in this area. So this could be from like a spent projectile that might have hit something else and then hit his body, so it lost its momentum to be able to penetrate into his body further. So it kind of hit this area and created this wound on the side of his body.
Were there evidence within the medical records that Mr. Shakur had received bullet wounds sometime prior to the injuries that caused his death?
He had some scars in other areas of his body that were suggestive of that.
State's Exhibit number 53. What are we looking at?
This is the back of his right hand, And on the ring finger, he has an entrance gunshot wound. This path goes through the hand and goes through that finger and then fractures that bone right by the ring finger area.
54054. What are we looking at?
This is the exit aspect of that wound that we saw the entrance to on the back of the hand, and it kind of exits out the underside and partly in the webbing between those fingers.
Now you mentioned that during the surgery, UMC would have recovered one bullet, and then autopsy, another bullet was recovered?
That's correct.
So, as it relates to the autopsy, shown you see exhibit number 55. What are we looking at here?
This is the projectile that was recovered during the autopsy. This was the one underneath the sternal notch to which I referred earlier.
And just so the jury understands these when they get in the back room, that's the same bullet, it's just taken from the opposite side.
Yes, we take multiple angles of those projectiles, photos of multiple angles.
Just for the record, exhibit numbers.
Mr. Instructor.
56.
Okay.
Now, doctor, in addition,
I'm only in Paris, I'm only in France. I thought that I told you I need the advance. But now you're hacking into my lens.
identifying Mr. Shakur within the coroner's office records.
We have both some medical records and some photographs, as well as the autopsy report, the investigation report, and the toxicology report as well.
Did you also have an affidavit from Mr. Shakur's mother indicating that's her son and he's dead?
Yes.
And were there also post-mortem fingerprints taken to confirm that information?
Yes.
After reviewing all of those records, do you have an opinion as to the cause of death of Mr. Shakur?
Yes.
And what is that?
He died of gunshot wounds of chest and abdomen.
And do you have an opinion as to the manner of death?
Yes.
What is that?
Homicide.
When a medical examiner uses the term homicide, what does that mean?
The simplest form is death at the hands of another.
Thank you. I pass the witness.
Cross-examination, Mr. Sanders.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Dr. Gavin,
Good morning.
how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Just a couple questions. Your testimony here today revolves really around your review of the record that was laid out 30 years ago.
Yes, that's correct.
And so I have fair to say, of course, that keeping records would be very important in your line of work.
Yes.
In the event that in the future, something that you do while you're on vacation somewhere in the Bahamas could be testified to by another doctor.
That's correct.
Now, with regards to the records that you saw here, is it Dr. Jordan? Was there anything missing in your review of those records in terms of record keeping or anything like that?
No, but we only took a few photos at the time of autopsy. At that time, they used Polaroids, or they used film and cameras. And so we had few photos of the body itself. And so consequently, the crime scene analyst photos were helpful for being able to come to determination in addition to the reports.
Right, so the way we're able to explain it to the jury today is that you reviewed the record as well as any photographs were taken at the time of the autopsy.
That's correct.
And once again, going back again to my original question though, was there anything at all in review of Dr. Jordan's records or records keeping that would have indicated to you something that should have been done differently with regard to Dr. Jordan's work?
No, nothing that I could see in my review.
Okay, and fair enough to say though that you're not really there to critique his work as much as it is to relay what you read in the record to a jury like the people that we have here today.
But that's fair.
And once again, a critical review of someone's record is a little bit different compared to just reading what was done and then relating that to a jury.
Yes.
Okay. What is the difference?
I think the scrutiny that you can utilize in those kind of details may be something that becomes relevant for a particular case.
Right, so for instance, if there was some issue, some dispute over whether or not he was given adequate medical treatment, that would be something for another day, for another topic. in another type of review, right?
That would be for somebody that actually does treatment of bodies. I'm a forensic pathologist, so I'm a medical examiner, so I review people after they've died. So that would be treatment related to whomever does that type of treatment.
Now, would you have been able to do this type of review if Dr. Jordan had not kept an adequate record of his efforts?
It depends on what you have available for review.
Say, for instance, there's no record at all. He doesn't do a record, he does some work, but you don't have anything other than maybe the pictures in this case. Would that be enough of a review for you?
Photographs can be very helpful in terms of determining what happened to the body, and then in terms of where the locations of injuries are, based on my knowledge of anatomy in the body, I can definitely generate opinions based on that.
Sure, but with regards to, say, his work in general, outside of the fact that you can point out location of where there's entry and exit wounds, for instance, from a bullet, outside of that, would you be able to tell this jury exactly what Dr. Jordan had done with regards to his autopsy?
What he did for his exact procedures, no.
Okay. And in the event that you don't even have that, say, for instance, you're coming in here today, and the question is, well, did Tupac Shakur die of bullet wounds? Would that be something that you could just tell a jury like this?
Oh,
To Oliver, eating here instead of buying a stadium hot dog is like putting away 20.
oh. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Because I did something I did not mean to do. Hold on. Hold on.
Of the body itself, and so consequently the crime scene analyst photos were helpful for being able to come to determination in addition to the reports.
Right, so the way we're able to explain it to the jury today is that you reviewed the record as well as any photographs were taken at the time of the autopsy.
That's correct.
And once again, going back again to my original question though, is that was there anything at all in review of Dr. Jordan's records or records that would have indicated to you something that should have been done differently with regards to Dr. Jordan's work?
No, nothing that I could see in my review.
Okay, and fair enough to say though, there you're not really there to critique his work as much as it is to relay what we read in the record to a jury like that we have here today.
But that's fair.
And once again, a critical review of someone's record is a little bit different compared to just reading what was done and then relating that to a jury.
Yes.
What is the difference?
I think the scrutiny that you can utilize in those kind of details may be something that becomes relevant for a particular case.
Right, so for instance, if there was some issue, some dispute over whether or not he was given adequate medical treatment, that would be something for another day, for another topic, in another type of review, right?
That would be for somebody that actually does treatment of bodies. I'm a forensic pathologist, so I'm a medical examiner, so I review people after they've died. So that would be treatment related to whomever does that type of treatment.
Now, would you have been able to do this type of review if Dr. Jordan had not kept an adequate record of his efforts?
It depends on what you have available for review.
Say, for instance, there's no record at all. He doesn't do a record, he does some work, but you don't have anything other than maybe the pictures in this case. Would that be enough of a review for you?
Photographs can be very helpful in terms of determining what happened to the body, and then in terms of where the location.
Objection to the admission of those records, Mr. Sam.
No, no.
All right, those will be admitted.
I apologize, I don't know his name, but he is the custodian of records for MGM Surveillance.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
1996 from the MGM.
Yes, I was.
And have you had a chance to see any of that surveillance?
Yes, I am.
Did MGM kick
Damn,
off
my
as well?
damn nigga hurt.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so you reviewed that.
Yes.
Judge, I have in my hand stage proposed exhibit number 115, which is that video of the offer.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, that'll be admitted.
So I have three different camera views, three different files, I'll call it, that we're going to talk about. But back in 1996, can you describe the type of surveillance system we're looking at? Like, how is it, what medium was it originally recorded on?
At that time, it was recorded on VHS.
And did MGM reuse tapes every so often?
Yes.
So when you reuse tape, did you lose quality each time you kind of reused it over and over again?
Yes, the quality deteriorated.
So unlike today, that's digital, some of these views that we're going to watch, it's going to be pretty hard to facially identify anybody. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So I want to start with Smart Fix. And I just remember from the top to the bottom. There's two blues. Oh, this one. Yes, this one's over there. There you go.
It doesn't work that way.
Alright. I'm going to show you the stage proposed exhibit number 144. You recognize what that is?
Yes, that's the MGM Grand.
Is that currently the way the MGM Grand looks?
The general layout of the casino or the hotel, yes, it's the names have changed and stuff, but the property is the same.
So we don't know if this is from 1996 or if it's from 2002, 2010, one in the last 30 years, but generally the layout's been the same.
Correct.
I'll put this up, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
If I could,
Oh, I moved to bit 144.
before we move to admit, can I just ask a couple more questions of this witness with regards to this?
You'd like to order here on this issue? You may.
Sir, with regards to the photograph that's been marked as proposed state exhibit 144, can you tell me if you can read the locations that are on that particular map?
I can read most of them. There's one that's a little fuzzy to me.
Sure. In terms of your review of the surveillance video from the MGM, fair to say that what we are about to see would indicate where the camera location was, including the name of the area that would correlate with what you have up there on the map?
As a general rule, yes.
Okay, thank you. We'll have no further questions.
Any objection then to
No
the admission
objection.
of it? It'll be admitted. State, you may proceed.
There's two areas on this I want to talk to you about before you show the video. Maybe more than that. Generally speaking, events like the Tyson-Selden fight, where would that have occurred at?
The MGM Grand Garden, which is located at the top of the screen.
Up here. Okay. We have an elevator view that we're going to see. Where is that located on this?
There's, in the middle of the screen, there's three small boxes. Those,
Right here.
yes, those are the elevator core for the MGM Grand.
And then if there's a camera that's going to say food court, that's kind of walking, that's looking down a long hallway. Which hallway are we looking at?
The white box, yeah, you're going to be following that basically to the Grand Garden Arena.
So when you come out of this box, you can either come down here or across the casino, essentially.
Correct.
So now I'm going to start with, we can go back to me. I'll pause it here for just a second. This says food court promenade. So we're just going to hold it up for the jury. Do you know anywhere?
With Hardee's original bag, bigger is better. Get full-size faves like our double cheeseburger, hot ham and cheese.
I couldn't tell you exactly where along that corridor you are, but you're along that corridor.
I'm going to stop it. Oh, maybe a little farther. This person right here, we're going to see in some of our other videos wearing a Dan Marino Miami Dolphins jersey. You probably know that, but for ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's the person that we're trying to follow. Is that accurate? Or do you know?
I do not know.
Okay. Now we have another camera view of this long hallway. From this, can you tell generally where in that hallway it is, or once again, we're just somewhere on that white hallway?
Somewhere along that white hallway.
And, well, you just flashed.
That.
So let me stop it here. On these VHS tapes, cameras would flash between different hallways.
That technology was in effect during that time frame.
Called multiplex back in those days.
Correct.
So sometimes we can jump from camera view to camera view, trying to capture what we're trying to capture.
Correct.
We can see the 13 on this jersey right here, with the gentleman walking behind him. Now I'm going to take you to 115B. I don't know why I did that. Alright, we're going to use a different program so we don't watch it sideways. And I'll turn my volume off because there's no volume. Now this is that elevator core that we saw. Let me switch over.
You mean the dot cam?
Yeah. So as opposed to those other views that were somewhere in here, now we're down in the middle of these four, and there's a tree in the middle of these four.
Correct.
Is that tree still there?
No.
And unlike the other camera, this one is a movable camera that goes back and forth.
Correct.
Go back to you.
Yeah. So this one starts at 2043 or so, and I'm going to jump forward to about 2047. This is just people walking through that elevator area, correct?
Correct.
We'll start at 204633.
What you are witnessing here is a human equivalent of a heat-seeking missile.
Get under the bed. Mom needs to get her guns. We set out to create an ideal combatant. Super soldiers. No one gets out.
This is the looks like Casino 4 footage that they're showing right now. God dang, KPD, mute your mic, man. We don't want to hear all that damn coughing. Mute your damn mic, son of a bitch. They're still showing the footage. Look like Tupac show tonight, and some of the members of the entourage just walking around. Damn it! What hotel is this?
Stop it just here for a second to orient everybody. So, the camera, is it being operated manually by a cameraman so he can stop it on something?
Damn, I forgot what hotel it was.
You can stop it at a location, but that movement that you saw was just the camera in rotation, just scanning the area.
If it now stops and focuses on someone, there's someone in the control room that is able to stop and go, hey, something's going on.
Yes.
Okay, MGM Grand, my bad. I couldn't figure out what hotel was. Damn, somebody got stumped the fuck out. I guess nosy ass people trying to see the fight. Who knows? Let me see if AV is up to the fight yet.
Ready to learn more about Yes2Go? Talk to a healthcare provider to see if Yes2Go is right for you.
Okay, AV is up to the fight. I'm gonna see her reaction to the fight. If you're watching on Law and Crime, this fight I'm talking about is a fight at MGM Grand. And this video, considering it's 30 years old, I don't know who the hell the audio person is, but this shit is coming up in 4D, bro. This is clear as shit.
So it looks like the camera was constantly rotating.
Yeah, what it look like.
God damn, PPD. Coffee D.
That's the same shit I said, AB. Same shit I said. This damn camera oscillating like a son of a bitch.
We just people watching. Coffee D.
We're only here to see what was gonna be AV's reaction to the fight.
Stop it just here for a second to orient everybody. So the camera, is it being operated manually by a cameraman so he can stop it on something that he's looking at?
He can stop it at a location, but that movement that you saw was just the camera in rotation, just scanning the area.
If it now stops and focuses on someone, there's someone in the control room that is able to stop and go, hey, something's going on.
Yes.
Okay, so can't. Ooh! Ooh!
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, son, you got stomped the fuck out. Cause look like Suge Knight.
And the power walk continued.
Look like Suge Knight was
Wow.
in loafers, just stumping a motherfucker out.
I mean, they just stomped him out and then just kept moving.
He basically stumped his ass out and kept walking. And the hotel in question was indeed MGM Grand. Okay. Let's go to here.
Now this is a real kitchen. Full speed, running on Genius, orders hitting instantly.
People that we see leaving the area of the elevator after the fight, where they go. It's easy.
Damn, like, damn, look like everybody was running to the fight. Okay, that's Pac and Suge Knight. Hell, I didn't know Suge Knight could walk that damn fast. I ain't even gonna bullshit you. Damn, Suge Knight power walking, goddamn. I want to see what AV if AV's done seen a power walk yet.
Trying to find the stomping. Cause do you see the 13? Come on. Let's see. I'm skipping. Sorry, y'all. Okay, here we go.
Stop it just here for a second to orient everybody. So the camera, is it being operated manually by a cameraman so he can stop it on something that he's looking at?
He can stop it at a location, but that movement that you saw was just the camera in rotation, just scanning the area.
If it now stops and focuses on someone, there's someone in the control room that is able to stop and go, hey, something's going on.
Yes.
Now you can kind of see it, but the camera went that way. Okay. Yeah, you can kind of see it. When he was bending down, you could see it. Oh, God, that cough. All right, let's get back to regular time. I'll bring y'all back right here.
Once again, it appears that the victim of the beating was wearing that 13 Marino shirt.
Yes, sir.
I'm originally from Shanghai, China, so I particularly cherish the time that I can connect with.
the chicken in the casket. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Cook it, throw it out the door. Okay, just throw it out the door. I guarantee you, that's why the recall is fast up. You said ice cream, I don't have stuff. Oh, Lord. Ain't nothing safe to eat right now.
2055. And our final view is at least somewhat obvious. Normally you read this when you watch the cameras. After we're done, I'm going to ask you, those people that we see leaving the area of the elevator after the fight, where they go. This is is that the main casino floor outside the elevators? Correct.
That power walk. That's that power walk.
Power walking like a motherfucker.
To locate anyone based upon the video that you saw.
Whoa.
In this case.
Whoa.
No. All right. And the way these.
Whoa, Long Cry, what'd you just do to us? We were watching the power walk. Hold on. Something just reset. Because we just jumped to cross. Okay, I think we are right. Around power walk time. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes Long Crime glitches. It's not me. They will just do that. It'll just like reset. But I'm going to hit play. This is where we left off.
Oh, there was an exact valet or what it was called at the time.
Thank you, sir. Judge, I passed the witness.
Mr. Smith, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, you are an investigator with the MGM.
Right.
MGM Resorts, the whole company.
So it would be MGM as well as the other properties that are on the ship?
Correct.
Okay. And I'm assuming you're more than just yourself doing the investigations?
Correct.
May I have that document? May I vote on it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to publish this again with jury states exhibit number 44.
All right. Couple questions. As the investigator or a investigator, how long have you been doing that line of work for?
14 years.
Did you have any previous law enforcement experience before you became an investigator for MGM?
I'll be right back, y'all.
And then with regards to your training as an investigator for the MGM, are you trained in how to do an investigation?
Yes.
Okay. And that would be something that would be not necessarily law enforcement, but it would just be to protect the properties that MGM owns.
Yes.
Okay. So, in regards to the training that you have, is one of the things that you do in terms of training, learning how to write proper reports?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us why that's important?
Documentation for future reference. You're time stamping an event in that moment that you are investigating it.
And fair to say that with regards to report writing, it helps you later refresh your recollection if you're ever unlucky enough to be sitting in this chair facing towards these people, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In this case, you were asked to retrieve this video that was what we've all seen right now, right?
Yes.
Did you have to write a report for that?
No.
Now, you had shared with us earlier that you had reviewed the videos. Anything about the review of the videos that would have required you to put it into a report?
No.
Okay. And you were going to, I must have cut you off. You were going to say something. Did you? I want to finish.
I did not, like you said that I provided this video.
Yes.
I did not provide this video.
Okay, so, and once again, we want to make sure that we're accurate, right? So what is your role in this whole thing about what you did here?
The video that we all reviewed, to be able to say that it's MGM Grand's video, that's MGM Grand's location, and whatever you guys want to talk about inside of the video.
Right. So in terms of you verifying it, was it just you looking at the video and saying, yes, that's the casino floor of the MGM?
Yes.
In terms of the date and time, for instance, you're just relying on what's date stamped and time on the actual video that you watched, right?
Yes.
I mean, you don't have any other way of verifying any of the time, date, in this case, outside of what's time stamped on the video, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's not a trick question. I just want to make sure. Yeah, you're good. But in terms of the case itself, was there an internal number that was assigned by the MGM property specifically as to this event in September of 2000 or 1996?
I don't know that answer.
So when you were asked to review the videos, do you know if there were any reports that were written by MGM Security or MGM investigators like yourself on September 7th, 1996 with regard to this event?
I don't know that answer.
Now, in addition to that, you were asked to look through the video. Were you ever asked to locate anyone based upon the video that you saw in this case?
No.
All right. And the way the surveillance worked back then, right? I'm assuming you weren't. That was 14 years ago, so that would have been you were there in 2012.
Technically, I got hired in 2010.
2010. All right. So this is another take a step back, another 14 years prior to you working there. We heard testimony that the recording system was all VHS based.
Yes.
If you could describe for the jury, right? So you have a control room, I'm assuming, with all these monitors that are on there.
Yes, sir.
And there's multiple people that are probably looking at different quadrants or areas of the casino.
They're looking at different monitors, yes, sir.
Okay, and some of them are concerned with, like, say, cheating on the tables, that kind of thing, right?
That is a different team altogether.
I see.
You have your security team and you have your gaming surveillance team.
I see. So as a security team, you're just tasked with safety on the premises.
Correct.
Okay. And so in this case, when those cameras are going around, they're going around automatically until such time that somebody in the control room looks and says, "Oh, there's something going on right here," and then manually focuses the camera over there.
Some of the cameras, yes.
Okay. And even if the person in the room is not seeing it, sometimes they'll get a call from security saying, "Hey, we've got a situation over by the elevator banks," and then that would draw someone's attention to that monitor and move the camera over to that area.
Yes, sir.
Now, is the person that's operating the camera at that point in direct contact with the security team that is down below, like in this case, in the elevator area?
Yes, sir.
So they would be communicating back and forth about whatever it is that would be going on that would be helpful for everybody to know.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, in this particular case, you have obviously a lot of people on the property.
Yes, sir.
Maybe you're too young for this, but I mean, this was fight night, right? Mike Tyson against Bruce Seldon.
Yes, sir.
Is that typical? Like, is that a typical amount of people on the MGM property?
In my experience, yes, that's a typical of fight night that you would have.
Right. So nowadays it's UFC or some type of championship thing with somebody, I don't know. But it's, once again, championship level sort of thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Not an everyday.
Not an everyday.
All right. And obviously there's a ton of people that are there. We see at some point the group that attacked the individual run.
Yes, sir.
They run out of the area. And I want to make sure the jury understands. So going back here to State's Exhibit number 144, the area where the attack happens is right here. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
This is right next to it. It just says elevator port, right?
Yes, sir.
Now we talked a little bit about where they exited, and you had mentioned somewhere, but I just want to make sure I'm clear as to where that would have been. Can you tell the jury where they exited?
From what I observed, it.
Sir, just to let you know, you could actually take that mouse that's right there and just move it around.
Yeah, when he's on the left, yeah.
Yes.
They
Gotta point it out.
Usually they can, but
Just go ahead and just describe it, and I'll just.
He appears to have traveled initially after the altercation. He appears to travel north up into the casino area, around that area, and then from the description, it looks like he comes back south and then turns to the
Oh, thank you, Madam Clerk. Yes, please. Could you just
talk loud. You can get up and just point it out on that big screen if you want.
Sorry about that.
The altercation occurs in the elevator door. It appears that it travels up this location on the casino floor, and then turns here and then comes back down. And it appears that he goes. I would have to watch it again. I'm a little confused on the exact route. There's only.
Guys, huge shout out to my girl, the Legal Poor. Y'all give her a sub. Okay, I miss you. I miss you, sis. But huge shout out to the Legal Poor. If any of the mods are around, to drop the link to her channel. Matter of fact, I'm gonna drop it because I miss her so much.
Routes either went out the border for sure or went out the line entrance. I'd have to watch it one more time to be able to confirm it.
If we could ask the state police to kind of replay that particular.
She needs to put back on the.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And once again, this would be 115 C as in Charlie.
Damn, they still showing Suge Knight power walking. Hit that power walk, Suge. Hit that power walk. They're still showing people trying to run to the fight. Okay, let me see what long crime has, cause I think AV to seventh power is just a tad bit behind. Let me see what. Oh, I didn't know
Did
that.
it help? Yes, it did. Okay. That's
Cold and slithery? Cold and sweet. Head for the mountains.
Those are CAR T cells. They've been modified so that they're cancer fighters.
It's those cells that come into this bag.
Your gaming surveillance will put that video onto a portable drive of some sort and provide it to the police.
Right. And with regards to that video surveillance, is it the entire property?
No.
Okay. What typically is requested of the police officers? What's typically protected or is saved by MGM?
Situations dictate, but whatever they're initially requesting, if they're looking for a physical altercation, that's what they're going to get, is the physical altercation. We don't provide, a 24-hour movement of the persons. It depends on what they're requesting.
Right. So in this particular regard, you have an individual dressed in a Dan Marino jersey that at some point leaves the elevator area. Recall that?
Yes.
Now, do you know if there was ever a request to follow that individual through the casino, maybe off the casino premises, just because he had been involved in an altercation with some other people?
I'm not aware of any request.
I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Redirect.
You mentioned one, you didn't know if this was 1996 or not, correct?
Correct.
You also said you weren't sure whether or not there was a report written by security.
Correct.
To show you. Does that document generally look familiar to you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And that indicates the accuracy of the times on the, generally speaking, on the video that we have.
Yes, sir.
And you want to read that description for yourself. There's more, but based upon reading that, are you comfortable that the Coyote Cafe was present in 1996?
Yes.
And the report, does it indicate that Orlando Anderson was trying to, this person in the 13 was attempting to push past security into this cafe when he was attacked?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further.
Any recross based on that, Mr. Sanders?
And I'm sorry, sir, I forgot your last name.
Ingram.
Ingram. Mr. Ingram, the report that you just read, did you author that report?
No.
Now, in terms of the report, fair to say the report's basically reflecting what's found on the videos that's been provided by the state.
I'm sorry, I lost track. What?
The videos that we watched earlier, is that what's in the report?
Yes.
So, in essence, the jury can see the report for them, or see the videos for themselves to determine what was happening in terms of actions and what people were right on.
I don't know if that's completely accurate. There's things that are in report that are written by like eyewitness that you can't see on video.
Sure. Now, the report itself, do you know who wrote it?
I do not.
Do you know if that person had the same training and experience that you have here today talking to this jury?
I do not.
And in terms of the report itself, is it a standard report that would have been drafted back in those days?
Yes, sir.
All right. And there would have been somebody who would have supervised that report, I'm assuming, and reviewed it?
Yes, sir.
Do you know who it is in this document?
Who the supervisor
is?
I don't know who the manager at the time was.
All right. Once again, not you. You were 12, right? Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Sam said that only what was seen on the video was in this report, but there's actually a description of what Mr. Anderson, what the person in number 13 was doing before we can see it in video. If you read the first.
Yes, he. Yes, sir.
This is a document that appears to be authored by somebody who was present and confronting Mr. Anderson from security as he was trying to get into the Coyote Cafe when he was attacked. And then we see on video kind of the remnants of that attack, but not the beginning. Correct?
I'm sorry, I'm just going to object to that question.
Well, you opened the door with that question by saying,
What's your response on leading?
oh, it's bleeding? Oh, okay. Read the first 4 lines of the report. I'll rephrase my
Okay, so it's sustained. Can you rephrase?
Read the beginning of the report.
On Sunday, August 7th, 1996, at approximately 8:50 p.m., this officer was in the elevator core when I noticed a BMA wearing a sports jersey force his way past the officers.
No, I disagree with the point. I go to object as this is hearsay. There's no exception to this clear statement to be brought.
Okay, your response on that?
Two things. One, he opened the door by claiming this report only says it's that. Two, it's a report generated at the time by the person who witnessed it, and it is a record of the MGM from MGM in 1996, all of which would qualify for admissibility.
Yeah, I'm going to do a approach.
Sure.
We have created an ideal combatant to be deployed against the domestic populace. Super soldiers.
Go to your room. Get under the bed. Mommy needs to get her guns. We're operating like a military unit. To rebut the idea that the only thing that the report contains is viewable on the video, and the jury is to consider it for such.
You could just, I guess, start over. Start at the beginning there and stop at the point you get to this person in the jersey getting attacked.
On Sunday, August 7th, 1996, at approximately 8:50 p.m., this officer was in the elevator core when I noticed a BMA wearing a sports jersey force his way past the officers. Chelsea, I first name, Muniz
Mm-hmm.
Roberts, at the North Key checkpoint by Coyote Cafe. The unidentified BMA was questioned by myself and Officer. Your screen went black.
Oh, sorry. I love technology.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, maybe approach again while Mr. Chuck was working on technology. Yes.
Okay, they don't want silent again.
Go ahead, I think you were an officer whose name you couldn't quite figure out.
The unidentified BNL was questioned by myself and Officer Gamba on the side of Coyote Cafe. The BMA was very uncooperative on answering our questions. While questioning the BMA, he continually kept looking over his shoulder towards the North Key checkpoint. It was seconds thereafter when I noticed a large group of BMAs force their way through the North Key checkpoint. The large group of BMAs, approximately 20, were running right in our directions. As they got close to the BMA that was being questioned, started to run south towards the elevator core. Around 5 or 6 BMAs from the group caught up with the single BMA, grabbed him, punched him, and knocked him to the.
That's probably far enough. Okay. Thank you, sir. I have no more questions.
Okay, Mr. Sam, anything else based on that? I guess that'd be read across.
No, Your Honor, but with regards to my discussions with the state, I'm going to move for the admission of that particular page that was written into the record.
Any objection to that, state?
I don't. There's a second page. You want to read it all first? I think this is first page appropriate.
At least page 1 will be admitted. Page 2 is still up in the air. But would that be next in line for the state, or do you want it as defense exhibit, Mr. Sampson?
This will be defense exhibit B, Your Honor.
Okay, so that'll be admitted as defense exhibit B. We'll hold tight to see if you want 1 or 2 pages. How many pages?
Actually 2, but right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let my clerk know.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So nothing further.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Any questions from the jury, Mr. Ingram? Do you have at least 1? Okay, can I have the parties approach?
Are they having sidebar? Or what's going on? Why is there no sound? Oh, come on, y'all. Oh, yeah, they was having a sidebar.
Sorry, question
So.
from one of our juries. Do you know where the person or officer who wrote the report at MGM from the security team witnessed the person in the Jersey by Coyote Cafe?
Can you restate that for me one more time?
I can try. I can read it again.
Yes, sir.
Where is the officer or person who wrote the report at MGM from the security team witnessing the person in the Jersey by Coyote Cafe?
Well, on the map, it's located the entrance, the specific entrance, whether it's
Maybe you should stand up and do it on the big ones.
Yes,
I can understand that.
So from what I can read, the entrance into the cafe is located here. Kind of cafe. So this would be where the initial stop and talk by the security personnel would have occurred at.
And do you know where the person who wrote the report was seeing that person in the Jersey from?
From that specific location. So she, or he or she, I'm not sure the exact person, but the security describes that they're at the position and someone tries to push past, in which case they approach and stop and talk at the entrance of the cafe itself.
Okay. And then as to the second part of that question, I'm not going to ask because that's not something that he would know why that decision was made. Steve, did you want any follow-up based on that question?
You didn't recognize the name of the author of that particular report, correct?
Correct.
And you have no idea what happened to that person in the last 30 years of their lives, whether they're alive, dead, locatable, anything like that?
No knowledge.
Thank you.
Mr. Sam?
Yes, Your Honor, just a couple more. So I want to be sure I'm clear. Did the MGM during that time period have those booths set up where you couldn't go to the elevators unless you had a room key or something? Is that what we're talking about in terms of the checkpoint?
The checkpoint is, it's not a physical location as much as it's a security position where they would check room keys to get into an area.
So if the report is saying someone was trying to push through, they're trying to go past that area into the elevator area? I mean, where are they going?
That's the direction that he travels. The security report states he tries to get into the cafe, and then when he's approached by the large group of males, he runs towards that checkpoint. So he's trying to get out or through the elevator core down into or wherever he decides he's trying to go. But that's the checkpoint. That little looks like a telephone next. Correct. That's where he's trying to get.
All right. So, but the report's kind of weird, right? Because it's not saying that he's trying to go into the Coyote Cafe. He's actually trying to go through a checkpoint or an area. I think that's what you read, right?
I would have to reread it again, but I believe he tried to get into Coyote Cafe first.
Okay, so he's going, there's a ton of people, they're all leaving the fight, and for some reason, him going into the Coyote Cafe causes security to go after him?
If it's closed or if it's blocked for a private party, I'm not exactly sure, honestly, why they would do it.
I see. So, I mean, but outside of that, your idea as to why the Coyote Cafe would not be open to this particular individual in the Merino, Jersey would have been because it's closed for a private function or closed completely.
Correct.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Ingram, you are excused at this time.
Sorry, Judge, can I have one follow-up then?
Oh, okay.
Or the cafe's overcrowded, they're stopping people from going in.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, now you're free to go.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at this time we're going to take a 10-minute restroom break. During the recess, you are admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or read, watch, or listen to any report or commentary on the trial of any person connected to this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, the internet, and radio.
Okay,
any subject
down break.
this is submitted to you. See you guys back here at 11:15. Please rise to the jury.
Okay, it's only 11:15. Where they at?
stay with regards to the last proposed entity.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Well, and then let my clerk know what pages you wanted in, or give it to her actually.
Yes, ma'am.
You're gonna have to print that out, I guess. We'll be in recess.
Okay. Let's go to Pam, the Law Intellect.
Take myself off mute first. Very uneventful. Looks like they just had a bunch of people to lay foundations, but didn't really have any substantive type of information. So, of course, they started out with the medical examiner who looked at the records. I don't think there's any dispute as to it was a homicide. But nonetheless, they have to put all of those proofs in the record in order to prove every element as the prosecutor. So although some of this is going to seem like it's just unnecessary, I guess, they have the burden. So it's not the defense that has the burden, the prosecutor has the burden. And so every piece of element and that they have to prove under that statute, including that he died, has to be put in the record. So they were able to establish that he died, that he was killed, that it was bullet wounds. Then they also, I'm not really understanding, aside from just showing that Keefe D is around all of these people in the industry and that he is around for a lot of these incidents, seems to just happen to be nearby with the Biggie situation. I can't say I necessarily even understand why they would be playing that audio, because it seems more confusing because everyone is sitting back like, why would they be playing this? But nonetheless, at the very beginning when we first started at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, they played video, partial video, which was the continuance of yesterday, of Keefe D. I guess he was in the parking garage when Biggie got pew-pewed. So they were talking about that. Then now this guy, he was 12 years old. So even like the medical examiner, she was like, no, I wasn't a part of this. I was in medical school when this happened. The guy that's the investigator at MGM, he said, no, I wasn't there as an investigator for MGM Resorts. I was a kid. I was 12. I was playing on the playground, playing Little League, you know? So basically they have to get people that work for these same companies or for the state or whatnot in order to authenticate a lot of this information, because people die. That's one of the things I was telling you about that's difficult with people that have been in prison for long periods of time, and you're trying to help them prove their innocence. A lot of these people are no longer around. You'll have judges, you'll have attorneys, you'll have all these people that can have pivotal information from around that time that are no longer here. And of course, with 30-year-old murder case, this is what they're going through now. So very uneventful, but very necessary for the prosecution. When they hit him, you know what? Yeah, so we'll see. We're gonna hang in there and see what they have next. They should be about preparing for lunch. So they'll probably go maybe another hour, and then they'll be preparing for lunch. But yeah, so that's where we are. That's all we got, guys. Yes, Tupac died. Yeah, somebody, I think they said they tried to say 95, but no, the incident, all of this happened with the fight. So you remember the fight at the casino is supposed to be why the unaliving happened, because this is Keefe D's nephew. So it all happened the same day. Keefe D's nephew getting stomped out. I don't think they're saying that. Leaving the casino, they were in the car and he got shot. So I put the link in there as always if anybody wants to give their opinions or they want to give what they're thinking right now. What do you guys think? Do you think the government should have brought this case 30 years later? Do you think, I mean, we're only on day 2 and it's supposed to be 4 to 6 weeks, so obviously
4 to
there's a lot
6
more
weeks.
evidence that's supposed to come forth, but
4 to 6 weeks. Okay. Here's the reason I paused it. 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. Lil Durk starts on Thursday. Lil Durk is supposed to be a 4-week case. Mo 3, which starts next Monday, is supposed to be a 6-week case. A 6-week to 2-month case. So yeah, it's gonna be a whole bunch of cases coming out of the woodwork.
I thought maybe they had more information now than what they had back then. But the way it's giving after we saw the opening statements, it looks like, aside from him doing a lot more interviews after that, he's pretty much been sticking to the same story, he being Keefe D, so. Yeah, that's pretty much what they're saying. They're trying to say that that was the rationale, that he was a part of it because they beat up his nephew. That's what happened in opening statements. I don't think you were on here when we had opening yesterday. So if you go back to my old video and just watch the opening statements, anybody on here that has not watched it, if you watch it, you can see the prosecution's theory. And they give a background on the different gangs and this person against this person, and Diddy had hired someone for when they came into town that they would be the ones protecting him, and then you got people that were at the LAPD that worked for Death Row Records. We had always heard that, or were retired from Death Row Records. He was known to have LAPD as his security. I was trying to stop that yawn, but that didn't happen. So yeah, so they're trying to, I'm trying to see what new information that made them decide to bring it now, when clearly years ago, or even as early as 2009, they had a lot of this information and didn't feel like they had enough. So I honestly am curious additionally that we haven't all heard or seen that made them feel now they got probable cause, or it was enough to put in front of a grand jury. Diddy didn't hire them. He would often give them tickets to give the appearance he had the Crips behind them. I've actually heard that a lot in the entertainment world, how they associate somewhat, even if it's not they're a part of them, they associate or get someone to be the liaison so they can always look like they're protected. Entertainment business is a dirty game. Thank you, Cassandra. I appreciate that. Yeah, I haven't per se done defense in a while. I think the last defense case I was on, it was a federal case, and it was just because it was somebody that was real close to me at the time, and I was pregnant with my daughter, like my youngest one. I think I found out I was pregnant in the middle of doing that case. But yeah, I do right now a combination. So I do a lot of civil. I do miss criminal to a degree, but I do a combination when you do wrongful convictions, because you have to almost recreate the case. You have to do the interviews. You have to find what went wrong, if there was misconduct, Brady violations. It's a lot of different intricacies. So it's like a combination of both, where you have to do post-conviction work, but then a lot of times they'll sue civilly when they win. Not all the times, but sometimes, depending on the level of misconduct or what happened, they may be able to actually sue. So I used to do the civil aspect more, and I used to do like excessive force, wrongful arrest, Monell claims. I used to do that type where it wasn't necessarily wrongfully convicted, but just against the police departments for their misconduct. So I did a lot of that, and then I had someone who asked me would I help their loved one who was trying to get out. So that's how I kind of got bit by the bug of trying to help people get out that proclaim their innocence, profess their innocence. And so free all the political prison is a whole nother conversation. I go in person a few times a month. Most of the time I do them on professional visits on video, but I do go, and it's just a disgusting place. That's all I can say. I've never been to, I mean, all the staff is not created equal, because at some prisons I found their staff to be very pleasant. But it's like the further we go up north in Michigan, it seems like it gets worse or something. I don't know. But they do seem like they hate their jobs. And this just isn't a job for that. And then when you look at it too, when you look at prison statistically, most people in prison are not there for violent offenses. Smaller percentage, but they treat everybody equally, like everybody's in there for the same thing, and you get disrespected equally. So I have a problem with prison. There certainly should be a reform. I think we know historically why prisons were created, and it's definitely going with that decades later, what prisons do. Especially those like in Louisiana and Angola. They lost a lawsuit, I think, where they had their prisoners out there on them plantations.
Okay, back on record is versus Davis, C377407. Anything we need to address before bringing the jury back in? Let's bring them in. Please rise.
Rise for the jury.
Okay, are they back? Okay, look like they back. I got a feeling she's getting ready to go on.
Like the first time.
You may all be seated.
Okay, they ain't going lunch. I thought she was going to come
May call
going.
your next witness.
Damn, now I'm coughing like Keefy did. Damn it.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And sir, if you please state your full name and then spell it.
Kenneth Rios, Kenneth Rios.
Thank you, Mr. Rios. Mr. DiGiacomo, you may proceed whenever you're ready.
Sir, how did you used to be employed?
I was employed as a I retired as a Las Vegas sergeant for Las Vegas Metro Police.
And how long were you with Metro?
28 years.
And when did you start?
April 17th, 1990.
And direct your attention to September 7th of 1996 at about 9 p.m. ish in that area. Where were you working?
I was working working as uniform patrol at the MGM Hotel.
At that time, did you learn of a situation that occurred in the elevator section of the MGM?
Yes, I did.
And did you respond over to that location?
Yes, I did.
Did you have contact with an individual wearing a Dan Marino number 13 jersey?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to play a little video for you.
Which B is that video?
This is 115B. I'm going to play it with the other program. I don't know why. I'm going to back up just a little bit here. You come in. Started right about here. You let us know when you see yourself.
I see myself.
Right. And which of the three officers we have on scene there are you?
One with the dark hair, my back, well, it was dark back then. My back is towards the camera facing the gentleman that has the Marino jersey on.
Eventually, we watched this video. You have a conversation with this individual, correct?
Yes, I did.
And at that time, did you ask him to identify himself?
Yes, I did.
How did he identify himself?
He identified himself through a California driver's license, which security had in their possession and gave to me.
Back then, this is just the fight call on the victim, correct?
We thought he was a victim, yes.
And so, did you talk to him about whether or not he wished to press charges or be involved? Describe that for us.
Yes, I asked him first if he needed medical assistance, and he refused. He said he was fine. I then asked him what happened, and he told me basically that a couple of guys that he didn't know jumped him. And once again, I asked him if he needed medical. He said no. I asked if he wanted to file a report, and he said no.
At that point, was he released and free to go on his way?
Yes, he was.
Later on that evening, did you learn about a shooting involving Tupac?
Yes, I did.
And then were you asked to then draft a report as to what your interaction was with Mr. Anderson?
Yes, I was.
And at that time, what name did you remember for Mr. Anderson?
It was Orlando. I remember his first name.
Is it anything unusual that when a victim gets attacked, doesn't want to press charges or write a report, for you not to have written a report that night?
No, it's not. Basically, if you don't have a victim, you don't have a crime, as we put it, which isn't necessarily true. You always have a crime. But if you don't have a victim, the chances of prosecution, you won't get any information, and so we don't take a report if the victim refuses.
It's only afterwards, the incident that occurs a couple hours later, you then go back from memory and write down what you recall from this incident.
Yes, I did.
And you were able to remember his first name as Orlando.
Yes.
Nothing further.
Yes, Mr. Sims.
Mr. Rios.
Yes, sir.
Did you review anything in your preparation for your testimony here today?
Yes, I did.
What did you review?
I reviewed my officer's report. I reviewed my memory. I reviewed also the last statement that I gave, I believe was to the grand jury a few years ago.
Okay. And I would assume that prior to your testimony to the grand jury, you reviewed your officer's report back then?
Yes, I did.
Prior to testifying in front of the grand jury?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Make sure we're clear here. You wrote that report. That's in the normal course of your
your duties as a police officer?
Yes, sir.
No exception to in terms of you conducting your business as a police officer that you don't ever write a report?
No, there's some instances where I may not write a report.
Sure, can you tell us what those instances are?
Not offhand, because it's been so long. There's just, you don't write a report for everything that you do. Everything's recorded in some way through the computer or through a dispatch, I'm sure. But to stand and write a formalized report on all my actions, no.
So in terms of all your actions, are you saying, like, for instance, if you get up out of your cubicle and you go into your sergeant's office and talk about fantasy football, no, I want to back then. Talk about the game between the Bears and the Chargers. We're not talking about that kind of documentation, right?
Right, I would never talk about the Bears, but yes.
Okay. There we go. And in terms of the way, though, you would handle, like, for instance, if you're doing an investigation, or in this case, you're part of an incident that occurs, a report wouldn't be drafted for something like this.
Yes and no. It would just depend. It would depend. Excuse me. It would depend on some factors. In this case, there was no victim. He refused any kind of help. But it was worth noting because of his involvement.
Yeah. And so the state had asked you a question specifically as to when you wrote the report. You wrote it after you got off of this particular shift. Is that when you wrote your report?
I don't recall when I wrote it, but I'm sure that my officer's report would reflect that time. But I know I didn't write it immediately after.
All right. And in terms of your knowledge that Tupac Shakur had just been shot, your testimony to the jury is that you had understood at that point that potentially a person by the name of Orlando may have been something to do with that particular case.
I don't recall if that was the reason why I wrote the report, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, because I'm a little curious. Like, how do you, there's a shooting of Tupac Shakur. How do you, is it because you heard that there's a shooting up on Tupac Shakur that you go, wait a minute, there was an incident that occurred with Tupac on property? Is that how we get to this point?
Back then, I don't recall if that was the process that I went through to make the report. I don't believe so. I believe that there was some other officers that probably told me and suggested that I write a report because of his possible involvement.
Right. So news goes out throughout the valley, Tupac has been shot, and then you're advised, hey, there was something happening with Tupac, just capture whatever it is that you remember, right?
I don't recall that happening that way, but for most intents purposes.
Right. Now, in terms of your report and you writing it, you're still on property when you hear that this incident had occurred with Tupac Shakur.
I don't recall where I was at the time.
Okay. Would you have ever called back to the MJ and say, hey, capture more video of this particular incident and the guy with the Merino jersey, the night of the shooting, to help him with whatever investigation could be out there? Did you do that?
Not that I recall, no.
Do you know of anyone else among the three officers that were there, or any other officers would have done something like that?
I have no idea.
Okay. Maybe they're all Bears fans, and that's the reason why they did that.
It could be.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, though. In terms of your this particular night, extra officers show up as overtime. They work overtime. Is that what this is?
Yes, sir.
All right. And they're doing it for a special event, right?
Yes, sir.
And in this case, this special event was the Tyson fight.
Yes, sir.
All right. In terms of the amount of people, in Las Vegas, I would imagine there would have been a lot.
A lot of people?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
We see video showing, obviously, a lot of people at the MGM.
Yes.
Where the evening finds its perfect finish.
Did I skip ahead too much? Okay, I think I skipped ahead too much. Hold on, y'all.
In Las Vegas, I would imagine there would have been a lot.
A lot of people?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
We see video showing, obviously, a lot of people at the MGM.
Yes, sir.
And would it just be the MGM where the fight was taking place, or would that be throughout the Strip?
No, there'd be officers on other properties.
Yeah. And it's, once again, these officers are on there because of the anticipated flow of people coming into Las Vegas for this special. Yes, sir. Sir, I have no further questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anything further, Mr. Jacqueline? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for this witness? We have at least one.
No, there's a question. This is an active jury.
Very active jury. And again, shout out to Avery to the seventh power.
I wonder what they want to know. There's a smile from Mr. D. Let us skip ahead.
Everyone just sit back.
Okay, here comes the question.
A question from one of our jurors. After an incident like that, is it customary to not follow the people who did the assault? Is it common for everyone to stay with who you thought was the victim?
My position at that time, yes, it would be to stay with the victim because we had already radioed 2 other officers that were on scene, and as well as the MGM security had radioed to their officers up front. So it would have been my responsibility to stay with the victim to make sure that he wasn't in dire need of medical assistance or still wanted to file a report.
Any follow-up based on that, Mr. Kajakma?
No.
Mr. Saft?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, perfect. With that, you are free to go. Mr. Rios?
Thank you.
All right. State, who is your next witness?
William Hedemeyer?
Okay, that was quick. We are going to witness number 9.
You solemnly swear or affirm testimony about giving this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Yes. Thank you. Sir, can you please state your full name and then spell it for the record?
It's William Heidmeyer, William William, and Heidmeyer, Heidmer.
Sir, whenever you're ready, state, you may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, back in 1996, were you working here in Las Vegas?
Yes, I was a security officer at the Maxim Hotel and Casino.
The Maxim these days is now the Westin on the corner of Koval and Flamingo?
Correct.
And it's on the northwest corner?
Yes, northwest corner.
Sometime prior to 11:17 p.m., were you engaged in an investigation with some Metro officers?
Yes, I had 2 Metro officers with me, and we were looking for stolen vehicles. There were 5 or 6 Dodge Caravans that were stolen out of our parking garage that night.
And where were you located when something unusual did happen?
Well, I was on the ramp of the 3rd floor of the parking garage on the southeast side of the property.
And while you were there, describe what you viewed.
Well, the 2 officers, another security officer, and I were standing around one Dodge Caravan, and we just suddenly heard a lot of gunfire.
At Sophia Learning, we believe in making education more accessible and affordable for everyone. That's why we
looking Koval Boulevard, Flamingo Boulevard, and that's when I witnessed what I saw.
So you hear a bunch of shots. Do you have any idea how many you heard?
It sounded like a lot.
1 volley, 2 volleys?
3 volleys.
3 volleys?
Yes.
And when you say a lot, I mean, some people, you can put any sort of number on it?
I had 3 to 4, maybe even 5 each volley. It was a series of pops.
Somewhere between 9 and 15 shots in a series.
Something like that.
You said after the shots fired, you guys ran to the retaining wall.
Yes.
I assume you ducked for cover from it first.
No, because I was armed, so I was leaning over the retaining wall to see what I could see.
And when you look over the wall, what do you see?
I see a line of vehicles in the left straight lane on Flamingo heading east, and there's several vehicles. There was a white Dodge Stratus at the front, a black BMW behind it, another dark car, and I believe another car, and then there was a white Chevy Suburban behind that, and several more cars.
Do you see anybody outside of those vehicles?
Yeah, there were a number of people standing outside of the vehicles in the traffic lanes.
And do you see any of them armed?
One gentleman was armed, one black male adult, very young, well-dressed. He was wearing a very bright white three-quarter sleeve shirt, black pants, and a black dress vest.
And at the time that you see him, is he firing his weapon?
No, he's not. But he does have the weapon in his hand. It was an automatic weapon, an automatic pistol.
Semi-automatic pistol?
Yes.
And is he holding it down? Is he pointing it in a direction?
He wasn't pointing it in any direction. It was kind of just off to his side.
What do you see this caravan of cars do?
Well, I looked back because the Metro officers jumped in their cars to pursue. And then when I turned around, everyone was back in their cars again. And they made a U-turn heading west on Flamingo towards Las Vegas Boulevard.
All of the cars in the caravan?
Yes.
And so you see them make a U-turn at Cobalt and head back towards Las Vegas Boulevard.
Correct.
And those vehicles, you saw the two Metro officers you were with jump in their vehicle to give chase to that caravan.
Correct.
At the time that you're out there and you see somebody with a gun, you've just heard shots fired, is it the conclusion you originally drew that that person was your suspect?
Yes, yeah, that's what I deduced.
Based on the officers following that caravan, that's a reasonable assumption that they deduced that as well.
Right. And they asked me what direction they were going. They rolled down their windows and were asking me what direction everyone went, and so I pointed to make a right and head towards Las Vegas Boulevard.
And those officers then went after the caravan.
Correct.
Objection as to the commission.
What's your response?
Well, he watched them do it. Did you watch
Place
the
more
officers?
foundation.
Did you watch the officers go after that caravan?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I trust the witness.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Staff?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Heitmeyer, I'm going to show you what's been marked in this state number 1. No.
Yes. One, two. Any votes?
All right. I'll show you State's Exhibit number 1 here. You recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Okay. Just to get to the point, this is Las Vegas.
Yes.
All right, and I'm just more concerned right now about the actual streets themselves. Can you just show us? Actually, you know what? Can we have? If you could step down out of the witness chair and just go over to that screen, I'm gonna have you point out for the jury where everything's at. Okay. All right. Can you point and show us where the Maxim Hotel is?
Maxim Hotel. This is Cobalt. It's Flamingo. Right. Right about here.
Let me help you out.
Yeah, right about here.
Okay, and just for the record, it looks like you're pointing in this area right here.
Well, this would be the hotel, and this would be the parking lot. It was parking in front of the spot as well.
All right, and just for the record, I'm pointing to the north part of, this would be Flamingo that I'm pointing at, is that correct? And that's on the north side of Flamingo, in between, what's the main streets that are in between where the property sits?
It's on Cobalt and Flamingo, the entrance to the parking garage.
All right, and so that area is where the Maxim Hotel is located.
Correct, but adjacent to the parking garage.
Right, and the parking garage, once again, for my identification, is where exactly? If you could just point that out for us.
Right.
All right, so that would be on the north side of the property?
Yes.
So would that be behind where the hotel is?
No, it's beside the hotel.
Beside the hotel, okay. and that's where you were located with the two police officers. Correct. Now, you were investigating at that particular time stolen vehicles out of that garage. Did you write a report on your own with regards to what you were doing that night with the stolen vehicles?
Actually, no, I turned that report over to my other co-officers. Was tied up.
Okay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit better for you here, sir, if I could. Going back again. That's hopefully more helpful. All right. So when you said that you looked over, you saw, can you explain for us again sort of where the vehicles were that you saw?
Well, the vehicles were on Community East, and they were in, we have a left turn lane, 2 forward lanes, and a right lane, and the vehicles were in the farthest left center lane.
Farthest left center lane.
Correct.
Meaning that they were intending on going forward.
Correct.
They're not making that left.
No, they ended up making.
Sure, and once again, for our education, this is 30 years ago, right? So you've got 3 lanes going directly east, and is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. And then you have, is it 2 lanes that are actually turn lanes to turn onto Como?
Actually, I believe it was 2 lanes, so it would be from the facing east. It would have been the 3rd lane. There's 2 turn lanes, 2 straight lanes, and then a right.
All right. And then with regards to the vehicles themselves, your testimony was that there was a white van of some sort of maybe vehicle in front of black BMW.
Yeah, it was a white Dodge Stretch.
I see. Is that a van? No, that's a car.
It's a 2-door sedan.
Okay. And then behind it is the BMW.
Yes.
And then behind it are multiple cars in the back.
Yes.
And your testimony was that you had identified a Lexus. Is it a Lexus behind it?
I think it was Lexus.
And then another vehicle, and then a white Chevy, and then it just kept going all the way down. So even though we're identifying these vehicles, you don't know how many vehicles were in the procession or the.
There were several. I didn't count them at the time, but it was a good 10 vehicles.
Okay. And all those vehicles are now making a U-turn and heading back towards Las Vegas. Correct. You don't see the actual shots being, someone actually pointing a gun at something and shooting something. You just heard it. The individual that you had identified as the person with the gun, did you see that individual shooting as well? All right, but you saw him dressed up in a relatively nice-looking sort of presentation, black pants.
Yes, he was well dressed.
Okay, vest and a white shirt. Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, you can go. There you go.
Sit down.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
State anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you so much for being with us, Mr. Heidemeyer. You are free to go.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I think you have one more, right?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, who's that going to be?
Daniel Cunningham.
Solemnly swear that the testimony about this action shall
I do.
please state your full name and then spell it out for the record.
It's Dean O'Kelly, and it's DEAN O''K''Y.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. You may proceed, Mr. DeJohn.
Sir, how are you currently employed?
I'm a deputy marshal in district court with Judge Erica Mendoza.
Prior to become a deputy marshal, well, I guess you've had multiple hats. At some point, were you a Metro police officer?
Yes, I was for 20 plus years.
And approximately what year did you start?
September of 1991.
And when did you retire as a Metro officer?
July 12th of 2012.
And after July 12th of 2012, did you do something else with Metro?
I did for about almost 8.5 years. I was a cold case homicide investigator.
Now, let me ask you this: when did you first go to homicide?
In 2003, on July.
So on September 7th of 1996, what was your assignment?
I was a detective in the gang unit on one of the enforcement teams.
What does that mean you did for Metro? What's an enforcement team?
So the enforcement teams are dressed in greens, and we usually have 5 or 6 detectives together, and we would patrol known gang areas and come in contact with gatherings that involved gang members. And then after enforcement, I did 2 years in investigation where I investigated gang-related crimes.
Before I get to your actions on this particular evening, I want to ask you a little bit about how the process of report writing has changed at Metro over the years. You have handled your own cases since the early 2000s, but you also were a cold case investigator, which I assume that means you also have experience with years and years and years before you ever became a police officer.
Certainly.
Was there a particular way that cases were documented up until the early to mid 2000s?
I mean, I think there's been some changes over time just because of the digital age. You know, when I first went to homicide, we were still using typewriters that had the little spinning ball on there and actually typing in triplicate, those types of things. Keeping our notes handwritten in our notebook. And that kind of changed over time. Everything went digital and we started keeping things on the computer.
So, we're talking 96, there was multiple reports written by officers as they did this because there wasn't the same computerized systems we have today.
That's correct.
Modern day, is there something called a main case report or a main officer's report related to homicides?
Yes, there is.
Explain that for me.
So what we normally do, and it kind of depends on the detective themselves. I mean, you probably work with people that have Post-its all over their desk and it's a total wreck and you have no idea what you're looking at, but they know where everything is and they know how it's organized. We had detectives that were like that. Me personally, I would keep everything on what's called a case management form. So from the very beginning, from the very start of when we got a call and we're keeping notes in a notebook, all that information go into a case management form. So I wouldn't be initially concerned with an officer's report getting started at any point because I was using that management form each and every time we did something investigatively. If we took a phone call from, a witness, then I would document that on that form. And at some point, especially if you had somebody that was in custody, you would transfer all that information over into an organized officer's report, which would then have the title at the top. It would have the date, time, and location of when the incident occurred, who's involved, who are the suspects, who are the victims, who are the witnesses, and it would be in a chronological order in an investigation. But initially, everything's kept just basically in the management form. Eventually, you want to get to the point where you put together all that information into an officer's report. And there will come a point in time where the individual detective would make the decision that the officer's report is final, right? You would get it signed off. It would be signed off by your sergeant. It would go into the case file. And then from that point, you would just basically be filing addendums as new information came in. You might write that information down on that management form and then do an additional officer's report. That's definitely something that I saw when I went to cold case. Some of the cases that were, 20 years old, every single step that detective did was a completely separate officer's report. So you get 15 officers' report in the case file. It definitely made a lot more sense to finally get to one point where we had just one officer's report covering the case.
And in your experience, is it unusual for an officer's report to be the very last thing that's generated by the detective assigned to the case?
No, that's not unusual at all.
I want to direct your attention back to September of 1997, and I'm going to put up really two aerials for you first of all, but I'm going to start with State's Exhibit number 1. That appears to be an aerial of Las Vegas Valley.
Yes.
And it's clearly more modern than 1996 because you can see T-Mobile over here and some other things. Is that correct?
Quite a bit different today. Yes, that's true.
And then I'm going to go back and show State's Exhibit number 2. This is a much earlier rendition of the Las Vegas Valley because T-Mobile's not there. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
And identified on State's Exhibit number 2 is where the I can see this one. Where it says Monte Carlo, that's generally where the Park MGM is today.
That's correct.
And at the time, back in 1996, there was a club called the 662 Club on Flamingo. Is that correct?
Yes, very familiar with it.
And is that referenced in State's Exhibit number 2 as well?
It is.
And is that generally in the location where it's at?
Correct.
So now I want to jump back to 1. At about 11:17 p.m. On September 7th of 1996, where were you?
We were conducting enforcement activity kind of northeast of the location of Cobalt and Flamingo.
And did something catch your attention?
Yes. As we were out with a couple of 2-3 gang members, we heard over the radio an officer rather excited, certainly under a stressful situation.
So my friends have all switched to Pure Talk because I told them they could save a bunch of money on a super reliable high-speed network with
we weren't very far away, so we cut the guys loose that we were with, got in our vehicles, and with lights and sirens, we went over to respond to the area of the Maxim Hotel.
When an officer calls out code red, what does that mean? What is he trying to do?
The code red is so that no other radio traffic is coming across except for what those officers are going through. So it's trying to keep the radio traffic to a minimum. So we didn't even announce that we were en route. It's not important for dispatch or really anybody else to know that we were on our way because we're waiting for updates from that officer or from the officers involved. So we stay off the radio. It's a sacred thing. You don't break the code red unless you really have to get on the radio.
Where do you respond to?
We responded to the intersection of Cobalt and Flamingo right there at the Maxim Hotel. Now it's called the Westin. But we went into the parking lot on the south side of the Maxim and where we saw a patrol unit.
At some point, do you walk out onto Flamingo? Well, let me ask you this. When you first arrived, is there traffic still driving eastbound on Flamingo?
Yes, I mean, nothing's changed so far as traffic at that point because whatever had happened was several minutes before that. So now people are still just driving by. We got to the parking lot. My Sergeant Cindy West, had inquired as to where the shots had come from, and we were able to look out into the street there on Flamingo, just west of Cobalt, and I saw in the headlights just little glints of light, and recognized that. I spent plenty of time on a firing range, and I know what brass looks like on the ground. So we were able to determine where several cartridge cases were located in the street west of Cobalt on Flamingo.
I'm going to approach and show you State Proposed Exhibit 34 to 41. If you look through those, I'm going to grab something.
when we spotted the cartridge cases in the street, at the time my enforcement vehicle was a Chevy van, and we had a whole bunch of cones. So as we located the cartridge cases there on the roadway, we took a bunch of cones out of my vehicle and actually placed them. In the photographs you'll see it a little bit different, but we placed the cones on top of or over the cartridge cases, so the cones protected where they were located. Because you could even see that there was at least, I know one for sure, maybe more, that had already been run over by traffic, so it was a little bit mangled. So we protected the crime scene, and we also popped a couple of flares on the north side of the number 3 travel lane where the cartridge cases are located.
And this fairly states exhibits 34 through 41 fairly and accurately represent that situation.
Yes, it is.
Who proved it?
For a minute.
So I'm going to put up 34. Can you just describe for us what we're looking at?
So you can see the cartridge cases are kind of straddling the 2 lanes.
I'll stop you for a second, Mr. O'Kelly.
Yes.
There's a mouse sitting right there. Don't click it. Just it'll freeze up the whole system, but you can use it as a pointer.
Exactly. So these 2 cones that we set up here were more or less to where the cartridge cases were located. These other cones are covering the actual cartridge cases in the roadway. The one that's closest to us in this picture is the bullet fragment. It was the furthest.
Why are they using cones to mark the bullets when they could just use paint?
It's away from cobalt, and then the other cones are all spent cartridge cases on Winchester, Smith & Wesson 40 caliber cartridge cases.
Do you know a person by the name of Dan Ford?
Yes, I do.
How do you know Dan?
Dan Ford is a senior crime scene analyst that I work with quite a bit. We started on the department right around the same time, and ran into him several times on cases that I worked with in the beginning unit investigations. We also utilized him on the RICO task force that I was on for a couple of years, and then he responded to countless homicide investigations during my career.
Eventually, does Mr. Ford leave the crime scene that was at Harmon and Las Vegas Boulevard and come? Is he the person that takes these pictures, winds up collecting these items?
Yes, he is. Fortunately, Dan was already dispatched. The patrol units that had called out on the radio the shots that were fired, they were taking report for damaged vehicles that were there, and Dan had already been dispatched to that, so he wasn't far away when the shots rang out, and he was requested to come to the scene.
Sitting there in front of you is States Exhibit 120. Looking at States Exhibit number 129, do you recognize what that item is?
Yes, I do. I've seen and reviewed the handwritten evidence inventory that was offered by Dan Ford. I can see that that's his handwriting. It's also his initials, Pino, that are on the package for the Winchester cartridge cases.
And then there's a red seal on the back here. That would be based on what? Correct.
The red seal is not, so it's different. It is marked here at the top for his P number. This doesn't. Oh, and he wrote the date on that. So 9796. So the initial in the top corner, and then put the date down in the bottom corner. Yes.
And all these blue seals are the times the forensic lab has opened this package in order to look at these items and potentially some testing.
That's correct. I do remember from the evidence inventory that Dan had indicated that these cartridge cases were checked for fingerprints at the time with negative results.
So I'm going to have you move. I guess I'll move to the next one. Okay.
Sunday.
And have you cut this not on the seal. So it's left in the right place. That you can be cut right on.
this one, which is a 14. You said you remember at least one of them was tangled.
This one's flattened on the opening opposite of the headstand. It's flattened, so it's been run over.
Appears to be at least one more of these that has some damage to, and some of them have damage. Is that correct?
They're definitely misshapen. A couple of them are. This is actually the closest that I've seen them, because when we came out, we just put the column right over the top of the golf. So I'm able to now look at even the primary impacts, which is significant.
Why is that significant?
Because a Glock pistol has a rectangular opening for the firing pin. It's vertically oriented on the front of the bolt face for a Glock pistol, and you can tell by looking at the primary impact was probably the shape of the impact on the primer.
That suggests to you that the weapon was a Glock 40.
That's correct.
Glock 40, but he actually does look like Steve Carell.
Now, Detective.
He kind of does.
It's Mr. Oakland. Now, Detective retired. I don't know. Deputy Marshal. Yeah, Deputy Marshal. There you go. While you're at the scene, are you getting updates on the radio as to potential suspect vehicles you should be looking for?
Periodically, again, that code red has been in effect for quite a while, so there's not a lot of radio traffic that was going on. The call came in initiating the code red at 11:17. We were short distance away. We went code, but we ran code. So we did lights and siren. It didn't take us very long to get there. I know that Sergeant West waited until there was a complete lull in the radio traffic and announced that we were en route and arrived at the same time. I believe that was at 11:26. We had been there before that. So we were there before 11:20. We were already there at the scene. So at about a little bit past 11:30, we got an update on the rough description of a light-colored Cadillac. I know at some point on the cab report it said late 90s. It had to be late 80s, right? It's 96. And there was also some indication that it was in good condition, which would say that it was an older vehicle than late 90s, right? So we were looking for a light-colored, possibly white Cadillac with two black male occupants. And there was a report that it was northbound on Audrey, which now Audrey Lane is the link, right? It's the link lane. So it's on the west side of the Madison going north. There was some report that possibly that's where the suspect vehicle had gone.
So initial reports is light color Cadillac, last seen northbound on Audrey.
Right, with two black males at that point.
Do you wind up getting updates throughout the evening as to the vehicle you're looking for?
We did. I'd say it was about an hour or so, about quarter to one maybe, right around that time. We got an update that we were looking for that same white Cadillac in good condition, but potentially occupied now by four black males. It was southbound on Cobalt. That later made a little bit more sense to us, especially that we were out on the eastbound lanes of Cobalt, right just short of the intersection, and that the Cadillac had to have been to the south of the BMW, and it made more sense that they would have made a right turn. So that definitely clicked when we were told they were southbound on Cobalt.
Is there kind of a point in time when there was an ATL or attempt to locate that particular vehicle?
Yes. Thankfully, because Dan Ford was not too far away, we were able to get relieved from our protection of the crime scene where the cartridge cases were located. And I think we cleared exactly an hour after the initial code red was called. And that was the first thing that we did was we went
south on Koval. We checked areas that we frequented in the gang unit, looking for potentially really any light colored Cadillac. You're talking, the kind of the yellowish lights that we have in town, the street lights that they use for low, so it's not too much light in town. Those can kind of throw you off on color. So we were looking for any light colored Cadillac.
Back up, 601. During all this time period that you and your partner ATL for the white Cadillac, did you ever drive into the parking lot of Carriage House?
No, I can say that in my 35 years, I've never been in the Carriage House.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay, cross-examination, Mr. Simpson.
Sorry, sir, what's your last name? Kelly, apostrophe K-E-L-L-E-Y.
Mr. Kelly, thank you for being here today. Your testimony, obviously, I would imagine before you were here, you probably reviewed your reports, whatever it is you wrote during that time period.
I didn't write any. Certainly, even after.
I knew it. Did you write a report? How did you keep the records of the report? This is starting to become very predictable.
With the homicide, I wasn't involved in the investigation for this case. I did review the CAD report, the computer-aided dispatch report, noting those times. I don't have that great a memory, so I'm going to have to tell you that. And that handwritten evidence inventory by Dan. So I have both copies right here on my note.
I see. So at the time you retired as a homicide detective?
I did.
And then at that point, you came back to work in case you had an investigator?
I did, yes.
All right. Now, a couple things. First of all, when you retired as a detective with homicide, were there any outstanding reports that you had not drafted when you left?
I can tell you that as people love me, so they got a limousine and we had a big party. So as there was a limousine out in front of headquarters at 400 Martin Luther King, I was typing the last officer's report that I needed to personally finish. I was leaving a partner behind, whose name is also Dean, so he was able to, tie up any of the cases that we had at that point. But I would say there were, but the ones that I knew I needed to get done before I got done.
And the reason why you prioritized those ones is because I would imagine they're still open investigations and you're handing it off to the next person to continue with your work.
That's correct. It makes it easier for them if it's tied up as best we can.
Right. Did you take any of those cases with you when you went over to the cold case unit?
When I came back to cold case, that was the original reason that I even agreed to do cold case homicide investigation was because of unsolved cases that I personally had investigated. One in particular. So as soon as I came back to cold case homicide, the very first thing I did was go and pull J.B. Sheldon's case and bring it over to my desk. That's the first case that went there. And we were able to work. I was honored to be able to work on cases like that and others that I have been a part of when I was a detective, yes.
So in terms of, just explain to the jury what a cold case is. Can you explain that?
Certainly. So a cold case is officially cold when the detectives who were originally signed to it are no longer there, whether they transferred out or they retired. If there isn't an original detective assigned to the case, it's considered cold, right? No one's assigned to it. Those cases can be handled.
Stay with me, okay?
We have created ideal combat. They will kill and understand. Already secure their guns. He's coming in.
Until they're done, right? You're not going
investigators, retired homicide detectives that helped with the investigation.
That's correct. Initially, when Sergeant Hefner, Sergeant in homicide, but then came back with me at the same time. So the two of us came back, and we were on our own. Like, we had a sergeant that was assigned to us that basically they were a signature block we could pull any case that we wanted and work on those. The department saw, thankfully, a lot to do with the work that we were getting accomplished, where we solved 20, 25-year-old cases, and the department's able to go to the media and say, look, we're not giving up after all these years. We're going to continue to follow these cases and solve them. Because of that success level, then the department dedicated 2 full-time detectives that were still in homicide to the cold case unit. And then we had, I want to say 3, 4 more cold case investigators that were assigned to us. I think we had a total of 5 or 6 at one point, plus the 2 detectives and a dedicated sergeant to the cold case unit.
So in terms of your work in the cold case as an investigator, you're not a detective, right?
No.
So there is a difference in terms of your responsibilities versus the responsibilities of the detective.
Correct.
Because the detective would be the law enforcement officer.
Certainly.
And you are the person helping the law enforcement officer.
Essentially, I mean, we can still steer the investigation where we want it to go. We're doing interviews, we're doing those things, but say authoring a search warrant. So if we run into a situation where we need a search warrant done, it's going to be, it may get written by one of us, but it's going to be sworn to as an affidavit by a detective on the department who's a sworn police officer.
Have you ever drafted a report, I don't know, 8 years after you started an investigation?
Well, because of cold case, yes, certainly.
But just as a police officer or a detective, have you ever waited, say, years to draft an actual report on something?
I don't know what would be my record-breaking delay in authoring a report, but I'd say if you're dealing with a case where there's nobody in custody, like you haven't arrested anybody, I'm probably pushing 2 years before I finally said, and even reluctantly said, all right, I'm going to close this officer's report. It's signed off because we've run out of investigative leads. We're to that point. There's really nothing else coming in, and now that's officially done. Then there could be maybe somebody calling up, or we could have somebody that gets in a jam, right, where they're now looking at serious time. This has happened to us in cold case, where now that person says, hey, I have information on a murder. So now it's completely open. Now the case is back up and running, and there would be a new officer's report started at that point in time to complete that investigation. I know where the gun is, I know who did the shooting, and now we've got a solved case after 15, 20 years.
Now, have you ever delayed writing an officer's report after going to the grand jury presenting evidence on that same case?
Yeah, I would say that I've gone to grand jury before officer's reports are done. I would say that I've gone to grand jury before I've started an officer's report. Again, because for me personally, and for a lot of the guys I work with, I'm not completely OCD, but certainly there's things that I need to get done, or I'm not going to be able to sleep, that kind of thing. You may feel that way. But I always get the case management form started and maintained up to date. It's going to be up to date. If you make a phone call to me, I'm going to document it, date, time, phone call, right? That may not go into the ultimate officer's report because it's superfluous information, it didn't mean anything. But I'm going to keep that record in the CMF. I might not even start the officer's report for months. And grand jury may have already happened. Now, I feel now some pressure to get that done, right? Because if I'm going to grand jury, more than likely we have somebody in custody. And I want the district attorney's office to have the benefit of a completed officer's report, although it's not necessary.
Right. And so, if you had submitted it to the grand jury or done your grand jury, you're telling us at some point you could delay finalizing your officer's report.
Yes.
Okay. Now, would you delay that officer's report until after you retire?
Well, because I still have a partner that hasn't retired, I can have confidence in doing that. You know, we definitely did have that happen. I recall specifically a double murder that was not, the officer's report wasn't done when I left, because I knew Dean was going to be, Detective Rates was going to be continuing on with it.
Right, so you knew that the other detective would still be the detective handling the case through because you were now retired.
No question.
But what if you didn't have that detective there, that your partner? Would you have delayed after you retired to draft your officer's report?
I would not.
How about?
I wouldn't be able to do it, right? I mean, I just know that I wouldn't be able to do it. That's why when, you know, the limo's out in front of headquarters, I'm typing an officer's report. I literally left I got the officer's report done and then went downstairs. I was done. I was retired.
Now, can you explain to us? I'm sorry, for interrupting. But can you explain for us a little bit about why reports are so important to you in your line of work as a homicide detective?
Reports document everything, right? I mean, you need to document your observations. You need to document evidence. And for us, in homicide or even in the gang unit before that, we did that with officers' reports. Officers' reports don't become evidence, right? Officers' reports are so anybody picking up that case file can walk through the investigation from beginning to the last part of an officer's report as a conclusion, right? So it may be a conclusion as to what you believe happened and you don't have somebody in custody. It can be a completed officer's report where the case isn't solved. It's still open, right? But it's at that point when you're doing the conclusion, it's more or less your opinion. This is what we believe based on everything else that precedes it in the officer's report.
Okay. And that would, of course, help you later if you ever recall to testify in front of a jury to recall what happened.
Oh, absolutely. That's the go-to document for somebody who's preparing for trial is that officer's report. I mean, it can be lengthy. I've written officer's reports that are 70 pages long.
And with regard to those reports and being 70 pages long, fair to say that details are super important for doing this kind of investigation.
They are.
And that would be helpful for you to remember details in the future, right? To write a good report.
Right. The more extensive and the more detailed your report, the better off you're prepared you're going to be. But in addition to that, you could be documenting things that you observed or that you knew at the time you were doing the investigation that you don't realize were important, right? So I could document something in a crime scene that seems like it's innocuous, you know, something that's just doesn't seem like it's that important. And then later on, when maybe a suspect's in custody or, you know, the investigation's further, then you find out, oh, that one item that you made a note of now becomes important because the suspect touched it or that was the murder weapon that was cleaned up and stuck over there and nobody
Sad but true.
Now, let's shift gears a little bit here. So you're no longer a detective, and you're now working with a cold case. Have you taken on any cold cases that weren't yours to begin with?
Certainly.
And what is typically the standard operating procedure when you are starting your investigation as a cold case investigator?
So you're pulling the case file, right? And it can be extensive, depending on the murder, depending on the case that you're looking at, it can be rather extensive. Some of the cases that we were pulling had pouches in them with VHS tapes, right? There were separate boxes that had VHS tapes in them. You probably may even know what a VHS tape. So, and we had cassette tapes, right? Actual physical cassette tapes. So we had to maintain a VHS player in homicide to be able to review those things.
Yeah.
So we had some of the archaic methods to review evidence. We would go through the entire case file, and that would give us a starting point. As you might imagine, what we're looking for in cold case, because of the advances in technology, is do we have any trace evidence that wasn't analyzed? Do we have any fingerprints that weren't analyzed? Do we have any DNA that maybe, you know, this precedes DNA? We looked at some cases that were before I was born. Okay, it's my 65th lap around the sun. We were looking at cases before I was even on this planet. So
you go through the entire thing and you try and make heads or tails of where the detective took that investigation to that point. Sometimes that could be difficult, especially if you're dealing with one of those posted people, right? You're dealing with one of the ones who are writing notes on cocktail napkins and stuff and keeping them in the case file. We pull little notes that were like, I have no clue.
These are the longest answers to questions
Yes,
ever,
they are.
especially for cross-examination.
How this relates to the investigation at all, don't know.
And my ass done drifted to sleep twice. Dude, hurry the fuck up.
If they talked to this person, didn't talk to this person, was this a witness? Was this a secondary victim? And we didn't know. So we'd have to try and track those down. And some of the cases were so old that, people that we were dealing with, they're deceased.
Did you have any success with what you did on the cold case unit?
Oh, certainly, yeah. We had closed quite a few.
So when you say closed, meaning that you were able to find out basically information you needed, the suspect or the case was?
Yes, absolutely. All the way through to an arrest and prosecution and conviction, yes.
And with regards to the success you had on the cold case, did any of those cases not involve some type of technological thing like either a trace, DNA, or fingerprints?
I think I'd say there was none come to my mind that we didn't have something that was redone and reviewed, and then came to a conclusion or pointed to a specific person that we were then able to go and interview. We had a couple. We had one where we flew to Toledo and we got a confession on a murder that happened here in Las Vegas, because that person was already doing life without there for another murder that he had committed. I don't recall that we had any physical evidence in there that we needed. He confessed to it basically. What do I have to lose? I'm already doing life without.
So he basically was in custody ready for a murder in another state and basically confessed and said, hey, I'm confessing this murder to that.
Correct.
So it wasn't like you found,
We did. I mean, there's, you look at some of these case files and they're definitely pointing towards a specific person, right? Every indication is that this is who you're dealing with, right? And that it just couldn't get it across the finish line, right? And like Jamie Sheldon, I brought up earlier, I know who did that murder, but it's whether or not there's enough to get across the finish line with that piece of evidence that's going to be where the district attorneys are willing to take that case to trial, and you're waiting for that one more thing, right? So it just stays there waiting for that one more piece of evidence to come in. And that happened with some of the cold cases where it's like, hey, we knew who this person was. I remember one specifically where we had a guy where we knew in the gang unit who we were looking for. And then I got to homicide and then looked up case files and saw that person had never been charged. Like, how did he never get charged? We knew who it was. And we were able to then put enough together to arrest him and get a conviction.
And the arrest was because of either DNA or fingerprints or something?
On that one, no. We had video surveillance that existed at the time on a VHS tape from a 7-Eleven. Back when they were recording over them every 7 days, and so it was grainy, and you're like trying to get a clear enough picture. But we were able to, and we had physical evidence at the time that existed at the time connecting him to other cases, and we were able to get a conviction on that particular case with nothing new.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm clear. So that was video surveillance with some other physical evidence that helped you solve that particular
cartridge cases, yes.
All right, and then in terms of your work, the night of what happened here, now I can just ask Are you, does this help a little bit here about just zoning into what's, zooming into where this thing happened?
Right, the red triangle, or the red rectangle there is where the cartridge cases are located. Near the intersection, I think the closest piece of evidence was 60 feet away from Koval, and they were out in the travel lane, probably 14, 15 feet away from the south curb.
Okay, so my question to you very specific. You mentioned a little bit ago about what potentially would be a white Cadillac traveling north on Audrey or Aubrey. Can you just you can step up if you want and just actually point with you can just point at the screen from over there so that Jerry can see.
Hey guys, real quick. I know there's a lot of new people here. I have 3 rules on the channel. Number 1, don't disrespect me, don't disrespect each other, and don't tell me what to do. I just had to ban somebody that violated YouTube's terms of service. So that account has been banned and also reported. I don't take that lightly. You know, don't come up in here disrespecting me like I didn't go to law school, calling people losers, all types of shenanigans. So I usually don't interrupt for that sort of thing, but I'm over internet abuse at this point. You ain't gonna do it over here. Whether you're new, old, whatever, you're not doing it. So don't ever attempt to do that on this channel, because I will not tolerate it. Back to where we were.
So this is Cobalt. This is the down west end, right? It used to be the accident. And that this is the Audrey Lane. Down in here is Audrey Street. It cuts over, it actually cuts south and then goes all the way over. The initial report was that we had this light colored Cadillac to I-5HPA that went north on Audrey. So they would have to put the entourage there, everybody if you turn and got this person with it turn right to go on. There's really no way for you to get from eastbound Flamingo and Cobalt to northbound Audrey without making a U-turn.
Okay, and just stay there for a second. The other part here is that I'm just pointing again with my pen, and that would be the area where you found and located the bullets, the cartridges.
Cartridge case for the outer eastbound lane, I think the number 3 travel lane, primarily kind of straddling the lane a little bit, right here before you get to Cobalt.
Now, if you can describe for us the street. So on that street right there, and I'm just pointing to the part of Flamingo that's, I guess, west of Cobalt, and then before or between Aubrey and Cobalt, this area here. Is there a concrete divider that's in that area?
There was not a concrete divider, no. And I think now it's like those yellow plastic cones that are every few feet. Now separating it, when you come up just that on eastbound Flamingo, there's two left turn lanes to go north on Cobalt, 3 travel lanes, and then a right turn lane to the south.
So, for instance, if cars are going to make a U-turn and turn around and follow, like say, for instance, the black BMW, right? The other cars could just basically just make a left-hand turn and go right back. They don't have to go in procession around and keep going. Fair?
Yeah, well, now they would be hitting all those yellow cones. So, I don't know. I don't think back then, I think, you could probably just right there, it's a violation of the law.
It is.
Certainly.
Because my understanding is those cones that you're talking about would be actually on Cobalt to prevent people, I guess it's like to stop traffic from merging or having too much lanes or traffic in that area. Do you recall that?
I know all the yellow cones because I attended a fellow marshal to the airport yesterday, and the lady on the actually took me north on Cobalt to pass that intersection. So I was able to see all the yellow plastic permanent cones that are there dividing the north or east and westbound traffic.
Right, but at the time, your recollection back in 1996, you don't know if there were cones up and down.
I don't know there wasn't. Yeah, I know there wasn't, and there wasn't a church so I think the guy just made the turn. There might have been a curve. There might have been a slight curve. But I don't see that in the photo, and I don't have any kind of recollection.
Gotcha. So those cars are, if we're trying to envision the BMW getting shot at some point to maybe turn, there's some discussion about some vehicle. messed up because of possible. And then as it's going down, the other cars would have just turned around and immediately left.
Awesome. I know, because we never went to Harlem Boulevard and never saw the on the run.
Your Honor, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Anything further, Mr. Jackman?
Briefly. I don't know if you retired on a Friday, but if you knew when you retired on Friday that on Monday you were going to be right back there as a cold case.
The land is broken. God has taken much from us to show us the truth. Surrender to it, and it will set you free.
The king is the goal. We're giving you enough! For all you've taken from us.
It is. Has there been at least one case with you and I, in fact, where there was never an officer's report that was able to be completed?
Debbie Flores Narvaez.
Is there any requirement that there be an officer's report created?
No, again, officer's report's not evidence, right? It's just kind of a guideline to go through the case file itself. There was, in the case that we're talking about, a case management form that went all the way through the investigation. So it really wasn't necessary to get to put it on trial and get a successful conviction.
You mentioned as well that old case files. You looked at, you said case files from before you were involved.
Yes.
You don't know if all of the reports that were ever generated were in that file or not in that file when you get the case, correct?
I could say that there were some case files that we pulled that they weren't even in 3-ring binders anymore. They were in accordion files, and there were definitely things missing, right, over time. The frustrating part of cold cases, going to pull evidence and seeing that it had long been destroyed, wasn't even available anymore, which shouldn't happen, but it sometimes does. And so, you're trying to piece together the case even without some pieces of evidence that you think is crucial.
So despite not having maybe everything that the original detectives have, you don't just give up. You still try and solve the crime.
Exactly. Well, you go redo it, right? I mean, if there's indication, like again, if you got a cocktail napkin with a name and a date of birth on there, but you don't know how that is involved, then if that person's still around, you go interview them. And we ended up doing it in cold case. We ended up doing a bunch of traveling where we would go do those interviews and sit down with people, and they have. I mean, being a witness to or being involved or even connecting remotely to a violent incident like that or a murder, that's called a significant emotional event, right? You're going to remember very specific details. I'm sure in your own life you had that where something really significant hit. So you can remember what you were wearing, you can remember the smell, you can remember where people are standing. So we're able to just go back and redo that interview and then put that into the case file, even though it was missing.
You sort of said this, but in a lot of those case files, law enforcement knows what they believe to be the story. They just don't have the witnesses to present in a courtroom to establish the crime beyond a reasonable doubt.
No question. I would say, especially during my 2 years in investigation in the gang unit, also the 2 years on the RICO task force that we were involved in, we were dealing with gang-related crimes, and there were many cases where we had something happen with, we knew 50 people around, right? There were 50 people there, and you start talking to witnesses, and everybody has the same statement. I heard shots, I ran, and the police stopped me for no reason, right? So you don't get that level of cooperation because people are afraid, right? People maybe think because they think gangs might be involved, they don't want to say anything, they keep it to themselves, and they live with the fact that they didn't help, right? But then with cold case, we were able to come back to some of these older cases where now that that young gang member that might have had 7% body fat back then and was in his prime and was scary is now an older toothless bulldog that's resting in the shade. So people are not afraid to now come forward.
and say, yeah, I was there, I saw it, I know exactly who did it. And
What the hell are we talking about?
we were able to
Yeah,
solve some
what are
cases.
we doing?
What?
You mentioned the situation where
Cause this
you
him,
read through the file.
Who did it? And
this him shit
Bulldog,
about put me
the
fucking
Twitter
sleep.
case, right? But then with cold case, we were able to come back to some of these older cases where now that, that young gang member that might have had 7% body fat back then and was, in his prime and was scary is now an older toothless,
Let me see what else is
bulldog,
on.
that's resting in the shade. So people are not afraid to now come forward and say, yeah, I was there, I saw it, I know exactly who did it, and I can prove it.
Guys, was that shade towards Keefy D? Was it? Was it shade towards Keefy D? What do you put a 1 in the chat if you think that was Keefy D shade?
So we were able to solve some cases like that, which was good.
And you even mentioned the situation where you read through the file, you're like, I know who did it. You flew to Toledo and he confessed.
Correct.
And that can happen in cold cases as well.
Yes, it does, thankfully.
Nothing but.
Mr. DeJeffro, are you moving to admit exhibits 129A through G?
I was going to have her mark it first before I
Okay. Was there an objection to the admission of them?
They are.
Okay. They will be admitted in the mark.
She'll be around there at
And
lunchtime.
Mr. Singh, further questions?
Sorry, I was done before. No worries. So, with regards to the this, I want to make sure I'm clear here. You thought you had a suspect. What did you do? Send him a letter and say you need to confess to this crime? I mean, how did that work out with the thing that happened in Toledo?
Oh, in Toledo?
Yeah.
We had put together enough of the case to know, with every bit of confidence that it was him, even to the point where we were able to author an arrest warrant for him. And then we were in contact with the correctional facility that he was in custody and let them know that we wanted to come out. They actually approached him to let him know the detectives from Las Vegas want to come out and speak with you. And he agreed, right? And he's sitting in custody for, serving life without correction. A child and the child's father. And so, I think probably just for entertainment value alone, he agreed to talk to us, and we were able to come out there and sit down with him. They pulled him out of his cell, obviously, and away from the rest of the inmates. And we talked to him for a couple hours before lunch, and then we broke for lunch, and then after lunch, he told us he did.
So you put together information here in Las Vegas that was all corroborated, right? I mean, you had information, you had evidence that you're putting together, right?
Correct.
And all that evidence pointed towards this particular person.
Did it?
And then at some point you said, we just don't have enough. We want to hear from this guy himself. And that's when you went out to Toledo to confront him on it?
I think that we would have been able to get a conviction without him telling us that he did it, but why not? I mean, if we went there and he said, pound sand, I'm not going to tell you. Like, I flew all the way out here and now I'm not going to tell you that I did it. I mean, we still would have gone forward, but it certainly, bolsters the case to have him say, yes, I did it, and this is what I did before and after, which is what he was able to do.
Right. So in the case you were developing, you had corroborating evidence here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And this was just the final, cherry on top to actually hear him say the words that, yeah, I did it.
Agreed.
Now, the corroborating evidence you had here, though, was your investigation. I would assume they had some physical evidence, witnesses, that kind of thing to it. Okay. And your testimony here right now is literally, you don't necessarily even need his confession. You could have just done it without.
Yes.
Now, in addition to that, obviously, if you didn't have those things, you suspected somebody, but you don't have DNA, you don't have fingerprints, you don't have an eyewitness, you don't have surveillance video, you don't have anything at all that would tie that person to whatever the crime occurred, that would mean at that particular point you don't have it, right?
I would agree with that.
Now, in addition to that, your testimony here is, and I want to make sure I'm clear, you were a gang person before, and those built interview cards would be helpful if you
we're looking into a potential crime where someone is accused of the crime. Like, look at those field interviews, right?
Field interview cards are very valuable. I worked bike patrol for the gang unit, and we filled out probably more FI cards, field interview cards, than a lot of the gang detectives did. That got me voluntold to test for gangs, and so yeah, field interview cards are very, very valuable piece of information because you're contacting somebody in a non-threatening, non-arrest, non-custodial environment, and they're telling you, they're giving you information that you're able to document.
If you could explain to the jury a little bit what a field interview card is.
So that, like, I was talking about that stop that we were on before the code red was called. So we were talking to some gang members that were gathered out in a neighborhood that we were familiar with gang members that we were familiar with. And so each time they're contacted, we would do a field interview card, little small, 3x5 card. This is a rights card, but it's about just like this. It's white, and it has all of their pertinent information, name, date of birth, all height, weight, eye color, all those things. Where you're contacting them, and there's a narrative portion on the back. And most of the gang members in that type of environment would say, "Yeah, hey, I'm 18th Street." I'm like, "Whatever, for life. I'm 18th Street for life." So you document that. That's 18th Street for life, because that's maintained in what you've heard, the gang file, for a period of time until that person says, "No, I'm not. I don't affiliate with them. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm away from it." And then, if that stays consistent for a certain amount of time, then that person's no longer in the gang file.
Every time that person comes in contact with law enforcement, then a new card is generated because it's a physical thing.
A new card is I always did. It documented my stop. It documented my activity. It documented our work. It documented, plus it starts the time clock every time, right? So every time that person
get to the lunch
every
break.
time that person's in the company of other known gang members, and then it starts that time clock so that they stay in the gang file until that time expires. So you want the clock to continue to.
I don't see how they can sit here for 6 to 8 hours just listening to court cases. I'm here at 3.5, and I'm sitting there sitting here 9 off. I don't see how the hell they do it.
Start over. Okay. And just one last question, and I hate hammering the heck out of this report stuff, but in terms of the example that was given to you by the state, they said, well, if you retire and then you go into cold case, you can continue on with the investigation if it's a cold case, right?
I would, yeah, okay. Definitely.
How about the district attorney's office? You're an investigator at the district attorney's office. Does the district attorney's office have a cold case team?
We didn't have anybody assigned to us. At the time, because I left in January 23, at the time we didn't have anybody that was catching our cold cases specifically, so I couldn't tell you one way or the other.
Right, so you are testifying that Metro has a cold case unit, to which if you're a detective with homicide and you want to take a case with you, you could have done that, right?
Sure.
But with regards to taking your case as a homicide detective and now working for the district attorney's office, that's not how that typically works.
I wouldn't know how they function with it, because I know, we put a case file together and we submit that case. It gets approved by the DA's office, and that the district attorney may recognize certain things that need to be cleaned up or need to be followed up on that maybe wouldn't come back to the detective in homicide.
Please, let's get to break.
Just keep in mind, if we're working a big case, we're still catching new cases. You don't catch a big case and then all of a sudden, time out. And I get to do this, work this case. You're still catching new cases. We worked one weekend in 2003 where we had 6 murders in one weekend. So you're up going into the weekend and up on rotation coming out of the weekend, because all the teams caught a case.
And so, just for the jury so they understand, Metro is the police department. They do investigations.
Correct.
Once you're done with the investigation, you follow the suspect. You then submit that report
request to the DA's office and the district attorney's office for prosecution.
Correct.
The district attorney's office, on the other hand, do not have investigators that initiate cases to be charged, right?
I don't know how the DA's investigators run their. I know I had contact with them multiple times over the years, because now we've involved the DA's office in what we've produced, because we seek the truth. DA's office seeks justice, right? So but I know there may be some incidental things that come up that an investigator will handle rather than taking it back to the homicide detective for follow-up.
In your experience throughout law enforcement, even up to currently, have you ever seen an investigator with the Clark County District Attorney's Office be the primary officer on a case?
No.
Further questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Anything further, Mr. Jackman? Any questions from the jury? Do you have at least one? Can I have the price?
All right. Jury has a question. Oh, man. See what they have. Oh, it took so long. Oh, my goodness. That was excruciating. Let's see what the jury wants to know from this particular retired detective, Mr. O'Kelly. Witness number 10. They're probably going to break for lunch after this question. I'd be surprised if they went to witness 11 before lunch, but we have 3:46 Eastern Standard Time, so we are getting close to the lunch hour for this jury. See what questions they have, and then we'll see if they start witness number 11. We've gone through a lot of witnesses today, guys. This would be 6 in one day. A lot of it law enforcement. I did warn you that this is going to happen at the start of every case. It's usually always law enforcement. It gets pretty dry.
All right, let's see. Question from Roger. There are 8 cones, but only 7 glass bottles in evidence. Was there another bullet not accounted for? Were there only 7 cases located at the scene? Or were there only 7 cases located at the scene?
Good question. So that the cone that was closest in the picture if you remember, I said that was a bullet fragment. So underneath that cone was just a piece of a bullet. Mostly just the lead. And so the bullet fragment plus the 7 cases.
Any follow-up questions based on that, Mr. DeJohn?
Detective, you opened the 7 cases, correct?
Yes.
Showing you what the mark mistakes proposed exhibit number 130. These appear to be all the bullets and fragments that were collected by Dan Ford.
That's correct. They were also listed on the evidence inventory that I've seen a copy of. I recognize the handwriting and initial and P number for Dan Ford.
As once again, there's also a blue stripe on here. There's also a blue stripe on here indicating that they were forensically tested as well.
Yes.
Any objections?
No objection.
Okay. Any other questions that you have? Mr. Stamp, questions on this question?
No, you're not.
Okay, perfect. All right. You are free to go. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, at this time we are going to take our lunch break. During this recess, you are admonished not to talk or converse amongst yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected to the trial, or read, watch, or listen to any report or commentary on the trial of any person connected to this case by any medium of information, including without limitation, newspaper, television, the internet, and radio, or form or express any opinion on any subject connected to the trial until the case is submitted to you. You'll be in recess until 1:45. Recess for the jury. So 1:45, guys.
Okay.
Forest brings your EMR and CRM together in one seamless software platform.
Okay, is this lunch break? Please let it be lunch break.
All right, jury seconded. Anything we need to address outside the presence? We'll be in recess. Thanks, guys.
All right. Okay, chat. So
Okay.
it appears as if they are going to be gone on their lunch break for 1 hour. Okay. I am going to.
Well, they on their lunch break, Me personally, I am going to end this. Oh, I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.